tweet of the day was the Ford Field's been open for 20 years, and New Mexico State now has one more postseason victory there than the Lions.
Beautiful.
God.
Fact of the matter is, I think they've played as many playoff games there or postseason games there as have the Lions. I think the Lions have only hosted a playoff game once in 20 years, haven't they?
Jeez.
There was a similar kind of tweet where, like, when the Bills played back-to-back games there, it's like the Bills just won back-to-back games in Detroit, something the Lions haven't done since 2016. But that might not still be the
Detroit
case.
Lions playoff history. So they were a wild card. The last time they hosted a game was in 93.
Favre and the Packers?
Yeah.
And they lost.
Yeah. Last time they won a game against the Cowboys that they won in 91.
Correct. That's their only playoff win in 65 years. 65 years.
So they have, it's not that that was a nice tweet, but it was an inaccurate tweet. Both Bowling Green and New Mexico State have played in more postseason games at Ford Field than the Detroit Lions.
Well, go through in the 2000s. Did the Lions make the playoffs in the 2000s?
No.
So the only two times they made it was with Stafford in like 2012 and 14?
Well, 3 times. They made it in 2011, the 2012 season, you're right. With Stafford, they lost to New Orleans in the first game. Then they played Dallas and lost. And then they played Seattle and lost in the 2016-2017 playoffs.
Got it. Yeah, 2014 was the controversial.
Yeah,
the officials made sure they lost, which is okay because then the next week they didn't give Dez credit for the catch.
Right.
Good morning, Johnny Mac. Good morning, AJC. Top of the morning to you. Oh, yes, it was, Adam. I kept urging Troy to sing last night.
I saw Buck was singing.
He was early.
Yeah, little Christmas carol.
Right at the start of the second quarter. Because we had a graphic that had like a 5, a 4, a 3, and a 2 on it.
And he started singing the 12 Days of Christmas?
Yep.
Huh. I was actually watching. I must have been doing something there because I didn't see that. That might have been a teeth brushing time. There must have been something going on.
Well, let's see. It was right around 9 o'clock, I would say.
Well, I might have been putting the daughter to bed because I watched till halftime, and I question why.
I don't blame you. Morning, Stumpy.
15 seconds.
A decade?
A decade. How about 2022? Let's just start there.
10 seconds. Here we go.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you, whether you're in 23-degree Indianapolis or you are hanging in the cozy confines of Southwest Florida, in which only the studio is 23 degrees. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us on this final Tuesday of 2022. Top of the morning to you, Mark. How are you?
I'm more well-rested than you are, David, because I did not stay up for the entire 20-3 barn burner of a Monday Night Football game that you had to work.
Oh, yes, it was. Ooh. I was awake only physically, not necessarily emotionally. I don't know. The fourth quarter is a bit of a haze, I think, to all of us in the booth. Kind of like, you know how when you get in a car and you start driving and then you kept the car in the lane and you drove a considerable ways even. And then all of a sudden you say to yourself, hold on a second. I don't really remember the last 17 miles. Man, I hope everything's been okay. It seems as if it is. I think that was the fourth quarter last night.
I can understand. What was it? 7 sacks, 3 interceptions, no third down conversions, no fourth down conversions. Out.
Right. Yeah. 2 review challenges and a partridge in a pear tree. Yeah.
That's the only thing Jeff Saturday got right yesterday was the review challenges. Did a really
Right.
good job with those.
I will say, for as much in-game coach bundling as we see, Jeff Saturday actually nailed when to take timeouts and coaches' challenges, and he's got that part. That TV part of his resume has served him well. His team is not good.
No, it's not. And putting Nick Foles in was not the answer. He can't play any better than any of the other ones. In fact, he might be worse than Ryan. At least they scored points with Matt Ryan. So I don't know what you can make of this Indianapolis team other than it's been a lost season, because I wasn't the only one out there that had them winning the division. There were lots of folks that had them being a team that was going to contend for that division. In fact, Aikman said it last night during the broadcast that he thought very highly of Indianapolis before the season started in that offensive line and thought Matt Ryan would help. So they fooled a lot of people this year.
And by fooled, we mean in a really bad way. They're now drafting 5th. And do you think it's possible that all of this quarterback juggling, what have you, is an elaborate ruse by Irsay to tank? Because they've done it before. Remember, they sucked for luck 11 years ago. Peyton got hurt, and they tried to compete for about 3 weeks and realized, wow, that guy really was our team. We're not good. Damn. Well, you got this franchise quarterback out there in the draft. I mean, if we suck for luck, we should be fine. And they did it. And I'm just wondering, they've now, 5 in a row they've lost. Should lose to the Giants this week. I have no idea who their regular season finale is against. Probably Houston.
Houston.
No, is it Houston?
Well, if Jacksonville's playing Tennessee, it's got to be.
Right. So, Houston may just mess up them getting the first overall pick of the draft. They may just win just to give it to the Bears. And as we see the difference between the Jags and the Jets, those late regular season wins when you've won 2 or 3 games. That's how Troy ended up in Dallas. The Packers had 2 wins, and a Lindy and Fane coach team went out and won a game final week of the season. And so they dropped down to the number 2 overall pick. They got Tony Mandarich. Now, they could have had Barry Sanders, but, they didn't get Troy Aikman. There's this long list of late regular season wins that are completely meaningless that end up costing you, oh, damn. So I'm just wondering, it was a 2-block walk, Mark, 2.5 maybe, from Lucas Oil Field to the hotel. And during that walk, those of us in the booth that are not on television were walking, and we were talking and just wondering, is this possibly an elaborate ruse by Irsay?
That would be giving Irsay a lot of credit for being able to pull off an elaborate ruse, would be the first thing I would tell you.
Okay.
But if there's anybody that could try to be deficient on the field in order to help himself off the field, Irsay would be on top of the list of guys that I would put for that.
Well, also, he's one of the few owners in which we do believe picks up the bat phone and calls in and says, by the way, this is what I want this week. I'm of the belief Jeff Saturday did not make this move. I'm of the belief that Jim Irsay picked up the phone and said, hey, let's try Nick Foles this week. And Jeff went, well, okay, Jim, what the heck? It's your team.
You're the boss.
Yep. And by the way, quick sidebar, Matt Ryan in street clothes. You think it's the end? Like, if you're a team out there, okay, because I don't think Matt Ryan will do the journeyman backup for the last 2-3 years of his career. I don't think he'll do Ryan Fitzpatrick. Go to a situation in which he could end up being a starter. I think Matt Ryan's either a starter or he's retired. But, you're one of those teams out there. You really don't have somebody for next year. I'm not saying you think he's the answer, but you'd bring him in as part of the equation. No?
No, I'm with you. I was trying to look up quickly, David, how much money Matt Ryan's made.
Oh, wow.
And it's a big sum.
I think it's over $200 million.
So
it could be $300 million, but I think it's over $200 million. I mean, these last couple of years especially, this has been, whoo-wee.
I mean, he won MVP.
Right.
He made MVP money.
Well, and also, he never left a dime on the table when he was with the Falcons. I don't know who his agent is, but, he put the pressure on the Falcons on at least 2 occasions.
You're close. His contract in 2008 was a $67 million contract, and then he made $104 million between 23. Yeah, he's over $200 million.
There you go.
Yeah.
And even with taxes and what have you, I mean, he probably kept 120 of it. So, I'd like to think that you don't have to play anymore if you don't want to. But when I just saw him in street clothes, and he is one of those guys who is a borderline Hall of Famer. And you wonder, did the Super Bowl comeback keep him out of the Hall of Fame? If they win that game.
I don't think of him as a Hall of Famer, and I think if they win that game, I might think differently.
Right. And I'm with you. I don't think of him as a Hall of Famer. I think of him as a very good quarterback for a long time. But that, to me, is not a Hall of Famer. And the NFL Hall of Fame is not like the Baseball Hall of Fame in this sense. You could be a very good player for a very long time in baseball. You hit certain milestones, you're in. 3,000 hits, etc. There's not a thing in which you go, well, he got to 60,000 yards. That's a Hall of Famer. Nah, that's not how we do it anymore. Like, Mark, how much better or worse do you think Matthew Stafford is than Matt Ryan? Because now, what does Stafford have? He got the ring.
I look at them as very similar guys.
And weren't they like a year apart in the draft? Matt was forever in Atlanta. Stafford was forever in Detroit.
A lot of yards on teams that were bad that they had to come from behind a lot.
But then
Great
also
fantasy football quarterbacks, if you will, but not Hall of Fame. They're in the fantasy football halls of fame, David, but they're not Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Fair enough.
I think Phillip Rivers is also in that range of quarterbacks that are borderline Hall of Famers.
Rivers is better than both of them.
Okay, so is Phillip Rivers a Hall of Famer?
Depends on who you talk to. Talk to Mark. I think he leans yes.
No, I lean no.
Oh, do you?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. Because I know you always liked Rivers more than I did.
But I've never thought he was a Hall of Famer. I thought he's on the Hall of very, very good, but
fair
he doesn't get into me.
Fair enough.
And you know that with all sports, I'm really hard on Halls of Fame.
Yes, you are.
I try to lean no, and it's not because I'm this super negative person. I think, as David has said, immortality is special. And you can't just put someone in because they compiled numbers. And Ryan and Stafford and guys like that who put up these obscene yards numbers every year, it's not enough for me.
But I was just thinking a few things when I saw Matt Ryan in street clothes. Like, A, is this the end? And B, is he a Hall of Famer? And C, if not, is it because of 28-3?
Miller and Moulton, taking your thoughts on the text line, 21,000. It's always open. Our text line never shuts, 24/7, 365.
I mean, I was pretty good there. I didn't go yes, no, maybe so. I just asked, straightforward questions. If we did a segment called yes, no, maybe so, I would have saved those questions for you in that segment.
I don't think a yes, no, maybe so question could be, is such and such a Hall of Famer? I think that's always a yes or no question.
That's not a maybe so.
I think for some people it could be a maybe so.
Is there a maybe so wing of the Hall of Fame that I'm not aware of?
Well, that's just my answers pending. That's all maybe so is. That's like, not right now, but could be someday. Give it another year or two. And that's all. Like if you think Matt Ryan's a no, but he's still got some, tread left on the tires. So no, but maybe so.
Miller and Moulton.
That's if we did a segment like that.
Right, if we did.
Right.
Listen, I'm trying to get a hold of Vicky, okay? If I can get her voice on the intro of that segment, it will happen.
Not going to hold my breath on yes, no, or maybe so. But I'm leading that David may already have questions for it today because he liked it a lot yesterday.
I don't. I just thought it'd be kind of funny to point that out. Hey, did I mention it's the final Tuesday in 2022?
I can just hear Troy right now when you're saying, Troy, tell him it's yes, no, or maybe so.
Look at
Miller and Moulton. We thank you for listening right here on the final Tuesday of 2022.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686. Or book on saltlifetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Okay.
Nick
Hey.
Foles has made $86 million.
Mm-hmm. It's a great country, isn't it? Nick Foles is a fascinating case. Nick Foles has been a journeyman, yet he had a season in which he threw 27 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions. He has, I believe, a 7-touchdown game. He has a game in which he completed 25 consecutive passes. And he obviously had the Super Bowl run with the Eagles. I mean, it's actually a fascinating career of highs, lows, and not much in between.
He's made $40 million in signing bonuses.
Nick Foles is a Philly legend.
Yes, he is.
That is another thing to add to his resume, like being a Philly legend.
Yes, he is.
That means a lot.
Okay. It's technically, they say it's to his second concussion this year. And KW, Tua was the one that went to them yesterday and said, I'm not feeling right. So, and thank you, Marie.
Yeah, thank you.
And to you as well.
And it was. And I'm pretty excited about the new year because my wife's best friend's coming over. And usually that means she brings her husband, but he's not coming this year. So it's just the two of them. And I get to watch football all by myself.
Hmm.
And
Love it.
I don't know if you can see over my shoulder, but that's the fragile lamp.
Yes, it is. Did it make? I didn't. Did it make the?
I did not.
What are you
So
munching?
I wore an ugly Christmas sweater, and I brought the fragile lamp.
What are you munching on, David?
What do you got there this morning, David? What are we going with?
Chex Mix and chocolate chip cookies.
Breakfast of champions, right there.
I love Chex Mix. You can put Chex Mix on any charcuterie board.
Huh. South Korea lifts ban on import of adult sex dolls.
Yeah.
Put the BBC
Morale just
out
went
there
up.
right now on
There
Twitter.
you go. Homemade Chex Mix.
That was a thing back in the 70s. I remember that.
Wow.
Like they sell homemade Chex Mix?
Well, no. See, if it were homemade, then it's homemade. You don't sell homemade Chex Mix. You would make homemade Chex Mix.
Hey, Felipe.
Hence the big word there in the whole thing is
So, see,
homemade.
Felipe, since my mom didn't cook, all right, after I was 9, I would assume that, somebody be smart enough to, merchandise homemade, whatever. So I'm with you.
Hey, you see homemade at a store, it's like, ooh, feel nice and warm and fuzzy inside.
Staley giving that game ball to Spanos saying, I got another year. I made the playoffs.
15 seconds.
Yeah, can't fire me now, can you?
You fire me now.
Here we go.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
Minutes past the hour, top of the morning to you. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. I'm in Indianapolis after the Chargers made the playoffs for the first time in 4 years. So we'll see Justin Herbert in the playoffs for the first time. Mark in the cozy confines at the 239. Hey, I probably should have talked to you about this during the break, but instead, I'll just produce on air. It's part of my charm. So, do you remember, oh man, you and I weren't even together yet. And I did a show, would you trade it all to be Joe Borowski?
Right.
Just killing a show. It was on Fort Myers Beach, and it was during the summer, and Joe Borowski had been released. And would you trade it all to be Nick Foles? And by all, when I asked the question, I said the only thing you get to keep are your parents. Okay, but think about Nick Foles, because he's near the end, and he was terrible last night, and we don't know if that's just rust or he just doesn't have it anymore. But Mark, Nick Foles is fascinating. Just like when I mentioned Joe Borowski had 2 really good runs, like many years apart, and was a journeyman in and around all of it. Nick Foles had that early season with Chip Kelly, 2013, I think it was, when he went 27 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. He won the division, led him to the playoffs. He, I believe, has completed 25 passes in a row in a game. There are not many quarterbacks who have done that. I think he has a 7-touchdown game also. Not many quarterbacks have done that. And obviously, we know about his coming off the bench and leading the Eagles to a Super Bowl. And this just in, how many of them have they won? Right. And yet, in and around all that, Nick Foles is a journeyman at best. I mean, went a couple year stretch in which, in between the 27-2 season and the Super Bowl season, I think he said, I nearly quit.
And David, when you did this for Borowski, the money wasn't as obscene in sports.
Right. It was a generation ago. Right.
Joe Borowski did not win the final game of the year.
No.
Wasn't named MVP of that game.
Correct.
And didn't sign signing bonuses for a tune of $40 million over the course of his career.
Wow, really?
Nick Foles has made $86 million in earnings.
Wow.
$86 million.
And he didn't get one. He was what, 3rd, 4th round pick? I think he was a 3rd out of Arizona. So he didn't get, one of those big rookie contracts.
No, his signing bonus, because he started with the Eagles. His signing bonus was $543,250.
Now, don't get me wrong. We'd all sign up for it, but.
Right. Then he signed with the Rams. That was a $3 million signing bonus.
Ooh, good for him.
Then he came back to the Eagles where he signed for another $3 million signing bonus. But it was the Jags who gave him a $25 million signing bonus. And the following year, the Bears gave him an $8 million signing bonus.
That's what beating Tom Brady in a Super Bowl can get you.
But he's made a substantial amount of money.
And yet has been a journeyman and has spent, Mark, almost the entire last 2 years on the bench and or not even active. He's been a 3rd-string quarterback for most of the last 2 years. It's a fascinating career. There's like no middle to it.
No. And most of it is holding a clipboard.
Right.
But when he was in, he's had some historic things happen.
Yeah, when he's hot, man, damn.
Get out the way.
So, I listen, last night's game was kind of boring. Your mind drifted a little bit if you were having to work that game. That's all. I thought about a few things, and then caught myself and was like, come on, man, you gotta pay attention. Yeah. But, then again, it was one of those games you could drift. So, I drifted for a little bit about Matt Ryan. I drifted for a little bit about Nick Foles. I think I kept the car on the road. But I don't know.
We got a texter who I'm guessing, is a Bengals fan. He says, honest question, would Matt Ryan consider being a backup to Joe Burrow? If there are spots to go, that would be one with the weapons that are there. I will say that offensive line is not somewhere that Matt Ryan would want to walk in and back up for, because Joe Burrow gets knocked on his hind end quite a bit.
although not as much lately, although boy, did they suffer a big loss. Lyle Collins out for the year. They've started the same 5 guys every game this year. Not a lot of teams can say that. And now for the final 2 games, which, oh, by the way, are Buffalo and Baltimore. And then the playoffs, they got a hole at right tackle. But yeah, I mean, that's all right there. If you're Matt Ryan, do you just go, because that's, Mark, what used to happen. You know, the Matt Ryans of the world at a certain age, they would go and be that veteran backup, that terrific backup quarterback.
Well, I mean, that's, Gary, you've worked with forever. That's Gary went to Cleveland to be a backup for Kozar, started a bunch of games.
Yes, he did. Got him in the playoffs in '85. Went on the road, beat the Giants. It was a good Giants team, too, who made the playoffs and won a playoff game. So, yeah. But I think he's done. I don't, and I'll be honest with you, it wouldn't shock me, by the way, if both guys ride off into the sunset. I don't know that, I don't know if Nick keeps doing this. KW points out in our Twitch chat room that Foles has thrown 82 touchdowns in his career. And how much has he made again? Like 84? 86, yeah. Well, that's a pretty good ratio right there. That's a pretty good ratio. And as is pointed out by Paul in our Twitch chat room, Bernie Kosar, after he was released by Cleveland, backed up Troy on a Super Bowl Cowboys team and backed up Marino for a year or two in Miami when they contended at the end of Shula's run.
But teams don't like to pay backup quarterbacks what these guys would want to make. It's one of the things you and I have talked about on this show for over a decade, David, is teams being frugal with the backup quarterback position.
I'll never forget, it was the 1990 NFC Championship game, and the Giants knocked Montana out of the game early fourth quarter, and Steve Young came in, and the Niners were clinging to a lead, and Young made a third down pass down the seam to the tight end for a big first down, and John Madden clearly saying, that is why they've paid Steve Young $1 million to back up Joe Montana this year. I mean, he clearly said his salary. And, in 1990, $1 million backup quarterback was a lot of money. So, you're right. They don't want to pay. Please, they cut Pro Bowl kickers because, God forbid, they want to make $2 million a year. They go, we'll get somebody for $700,000. It's no big deal. I mean, he only decides 2-3 games a year. I mean, let's cut corners.
All to pay the starting quarterback and the diva wide receiver.
Well, love me some diva wide receivers, Mark. That's a soft spot.
I know. That's why I hit you with somewhere where it hurts a little bit.
Really does.
Got to take a little bit of money from that diva away so you can have a backup quarterback to throw the diva the ball when your quarterback goes down. Miller and Moulton. The starting 5 is next with our own diva wide receiver on the Florida Sports Network.
Napa Auto Parts and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Oh, Stumpy, Lamar's a free agent at the end of the year, but the Ravens are likely going to tag him if they can't work out a deal. So I don't see how there's much of a chance. And since he's a free agent, they can't trade him to the Dolphins. So
Oh, don't tease me with headlines like how can TCU upset Michigan in the college football playoff? God, that would be glorious.
Let me ask you guys something.
hold on a second. Adam, Lamar will be back for the playoffs if he's not back this Sunday against the Steelers. Harbaugh's being coy. You're not going to face Huntley in the playoffs. Sorry, Felipe.
You're fine. But if for some stupid reason ECU wins the national championship, how hard do you think the Big 12 will regret their decision?
They won't regret it. Well, Big 12 didn't have anything to do with that decision. Oklahoma, Texas left.
Oh, that was their decision.
That was their decision.
Right.
Trust me.
I'm sure the Big 12 wanted them to stay.
They didn't get kicked out.
Obviously.
They're the two biggest money gainers in the
Yeah,
conference.
of course. Yeah, you're right. How funny would that be, though? It's not going to happen, of course, but
A lot better chance of Michigan playing Ohio State and Natty than TCU winning 2 games.
I'm telling you, that will be the most watched national championship game of all
No, it
time.
won't. We don't like rematches.
Michigan, Ohio State, the greatest college football rivalry, the biggest stage. Have they ever played for a national
No,
championship?
because they play in the same conference.
Right. Oh, it would be madness.
Alabama, LSU, Alabama, Georgia, the only two in the modern era regular season rematches for the
And
title.
neither of them did good numbers compared to other games, right?
Yeah. Now, the one thing that would be interesting, like the whole Midwest didn't watch those two rematches because they didn't care. But the South loves their college football so much, they might watch an Ohio State-Michigan game. They wouldn't be happy,
10
but
seconds.
they might watch it.
Right.
Here we go.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us on this final Tuesday of 2022. Pat Kirwan to join us at the top of the 8 o'clock hour. Right now, it is time for
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
Well, thank goodness the Colts won't be on national television the rest of the year. The Chargers took advantage of a really bad football team last night and just slowly ground them away. 20-3, LA with the win. That's their third in a row. They're 9-6, and they clinched a playoff spot for the first time in 4 years since Phillip Rivers was their starting quarterback. Colts have now lost 5 in a row. They're 4-10-1. If the draft were tomorrow, they'd pick 5th. Nick Foles got the start. Well, he was sacked 7 times and threw 3 interceptions, and they didn't convert a single third or fourth down in the game. So you got that going for you, which is nice. A lot of other news in the NFL yesterday, however, with 2 weeks left. Tua wasn't feeling good yesterday. Went to team officials and said, "I'm not right." And after they did some testing and what have you, they said, "Hey, we got to put you back in the concussion protocol." Which, of course, begs the question, what hit, when. But Tua's back in the concussion protocol, which means until further notice, Teddy Bridgewater's taking the snaps as the first-string quarterback in practice, and we'll see, Mark, whether or not it's Teddy B or Tua in New England. And as we mentioned yesterday, the Patriots, if they win out, would win the 7 seed. But winning out would include a final game of the year win in Buffalo. And that's why the Dolphins and the Jets and even some other teams are going, well, come on, New England's not going to win the final game of the year. I mean, they may beat the Dolphins this week, but they're not going to go to Buffalo and win, which means that it's possible if you're Miami, you could lose this week, beat the Jets, and there's a real possibility you make the playoffs. So do you play it safe with Tua?
Look, this week is this week, David. That's 2 concussions this year. I'm more wondering about long-term Tua. This guy now has a concussion problem. And you asked me yesterday, could I sign him to a 5th-year option? I said yes. I'm more concerned about that today than I was yesterday.
Dolphins have to make a decision after this season before free agency starts. So they'll have about 2 months to decide whether or not to pick up Tua's 5th-year option. Remember, he is finishing his 3rd year. The Broncos couldn't wait any longer. We joked yesterday in which we thought Nathaniel Hackett was a prime candidate to be fired walking off the field, a la a college football coach, a la Ron Zook in Starkville, a la Brett Bielema in Fayetteville. But they let Nathaniel Hackett get on the plane, fly back to Denver. and then let him get a decent night's sleep before they brought him in and they fired him. And Mark, when you think about it, and you have to right now, I know he's a very young man, but this went so badly. 4-11, and so much of the losing and inadequate play was on national television this year because the NFL thought, Russell Wilson with Denver. That'll be good. And Mark, really, you go back to the first week when he decided to bypass going for it on 4th and 5 and attempt a 64-yard field goal to win the game against Seattle. And basically, it all went downhill from there for Nathaniel Hackett, the Broncos, and Monday Night Football. Mike White cleared to play, and needless to say, they'll take any healthy body right now instead of Zach Wilson. So Mike White's going to start for the Jets, who are suddenly still alive. Jets thinking, hey, we win the last two. We go 9-8. And that hole, we count on Buffalo to beat New England. And guess what? We'll be in because we will have swept the Dolphins and we'll be ahead of the Patriots. And bada boom, bada bing. So Mike White cleared the play. He'll start for the Jets against the Seahawks in Seattle. Did you see what the Carolina Panthers did yesterday? They signed Josh Norman. You remember when Josh Norman played with Carolina? He's 35 years old now, hasn't played this year. Actually was decent for the Niners last year. Little surprised somebody didn't pick him up. But with J.C. Horn getting hurt, they need a body. And so they brought in Josh Norman. And they say he could play Sunday in the all-important NFC South showdown with Tampa Bay. 6-9 against 7-8.
For the division, everybody. For the division.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And finally in the NFL, Mark, John Harbaugh, is this being coy or is this being brutally honest? He gave no indication yesterday when meeting with the media as to whether or not Lamar Jackson will play Sunday against the Steelers. When asked, hey, is Lamar going to play? He said, quote, we'll just have to see, unquote. Coy or honest? You decide.
I actually think it's honest.
I think it's coy. I think he knows Lamar's playing Sunday. Personally. But college football, Moulton's bowl run ended. New Mexico State handled Bowling Green. Beginning, middle, and end.
The MAC has handled you.
The
MAC has owned you. Your bold record would be so much better if it wasn't for the damn MAC.
I know, and it's 10-7 now. It's not bad, but man, you take the MAC out of the equation.
10-4.
Yeah, something like that, or 9-3, something. Damn. Anyway, New Mexico State controlled the game, beat Bowling Green 24-19 in the Quick Lane Bowl. Guys, 4 bowl games today. We got the Camellia Bowl, the First Responder Bowl, the Birmingham Bowl, and the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. Yes, Georgia Southern Buffalo and the Camellia, Memphis and Utah State in the First Responder, Coastal Carolina and East Carolina in the Birmingham, and Wisconsin trying to win one for Jim Leonard against Oklahoma State in the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. NBA, I think it was 8 games last night, 7 games in the NBA.
Guaranteed Rate Bowl starts at 10:15 tonight, by the way.
I know. Who do they think is going to watch that? Maybe some folks in Oklahoma and Wisconsin, I guess. By the way, I like Wisconsin to win one for Jim Leonard there. So, laying 3.5.
All right. We'll get to David's bowl picks later in the show. Probably a bonus hour segment for you listening around the network. You may have to join around 9:15 for David's bowl extravaganza picks.
10-7 so far against the number, picking the bowl games. So the Heat, they tried to blow it, but they held on. They beat Minnesota 113-110. No Jimmy Butler, 5 in double figures. Miami back to 500 mark, which in the division they play in, that's damn near a tie for first.
Yeah, I tried to watch that last night. You had no Butler, no Bam, no Cat for
Minnesota.
They also had a couple other players. I think they had 4 players out, 2 were starters. I mean, it's another normal night in the NBA. 4 starters don't play.
I'll tell you what. If you got to have money, obviously, to have NBA season tickets. Same with the NHL, for that matter. But I couldn't buy NBA season tickets right now because I have no idea when anybody's playing. And it doesn't seem to be a problem yet. Mark, this is like when you and I complained for 5 to 7 years ahead of the rest of the world about how long the college football games are. And when you and I for 5 years said, no, every game doesn't count. The system's broken. They need to fix it. I really do think if you're Adam Silver, I mean, I would be willing to have a shutdown and lose games over this. I really would. I mean, when your paying customers don't know who's going to play, don't they stop to be paying customers at some point?
Hey, I watched. Yeah, I had 2 games on. I had the football game on the basketball game. There were sequences in that basketball game last night that it was just bad basketball.
Now, Felipe's 22, huge fan. He and his family went to a Heat game Friday night. Good game. Score-wise, this was a good game.
Well, they've trained his whole generation that players only play 60 games a year. So
That's true.
They have been brought up on the notion that load management is part of how you coach basketball. So maybe it's fine. You and I live in an era where Jordan played in every damn game.
Yeah,
LeBron played in every damn game.
Right.
But I think the only reason why you should buy season tickets, like for me personally, is to watch the other team's players. And I get it, they don't play. But it doesn't help that I'm a fan of the game also, and that there's multiple players down that roster.
But I think it's difficult when LeBron's only coming once a year, and what if he doesn't play? I mean, a generation ago, Felipe, you knew when the Bulls were on the schedule, Michael was playing. All right. You could save up your money as a family. That's the game we're going to go to. You could sit in the upper deck if you had to, and it cost you hundreds of dollars, and maybe got the hotel room the night before or for after the game. But man, you knew Michael was playing. You didn't show up and they go, sorry, tonight's a load management night. Not only is Michael not playing, neither are 2 of the other starters.
And again, those tickets for tomorrow night's Heat game against the Lakers are the most expensive tickets of the season.
Right. And now, LeBron's going to play against the Heat in Miami. I mean, if he can stand, he'll play in that game. But Clippers, by the way, were down 14 with 3.5 minutes to go in Detroit last night. Rallied, forced overtime, and won it, 142-131. The Nets have won 9 in a row, very quietly. Very quietly. All the dysfunction and everything seems to be gone.
And very quietly, Kevin Durant is having an MVP season.
Yeah, he seems to like the interim coach.
Yes.
So take a look at their roster.
For the year, he should be in good shape until he gets sick of this guy.
Oh, right. But if he can last the rest of the year, Houston snapped the 5-game losing streak, and the Bulls, who won 3 in a row on the road, came home to face Houston and got beat by 15. Who would have thunk it? New Orleans beat the Pacers by 20. San Antonio is the 4th worst record in the league. You know that, Mark? But they did beat Utah last night by 4. And Portland beat Charlotte by 11. College hoops, there were no games. The season resumes today on both the men's and women's side. Top 5 teams in the polls on the men's side remain the same, and both the coaches and the AP. Purdue, UConn, Houston, Kansas, and Arizona are your consensus top 5. Big move by the Canes, though. Remember, they had that nice win against Virginia last week. So they moved up to 14th in the AP and 16th in the coaches poll. Jim Larinaga's team is 12-1. South Carolina, the unanimous number 1 on the women's side. There are 4 other unbeatens in women's hoops: Ohio State, Indiana, LSU, and Utah. South Florida getting votes, but just outside the top 25. The Bulls should be ranked. Take a look at their resume. They should be ranked. And finally, Mark, the Mets and Carlos Correa say, you know what? We're making progress. Of course, there are 3 other teams that, while they're working on making progress, who have picked up the phone and called Boris and said, hey, you can do to the Mets what you did to the Giants. Just so you know, here's our offer. But, right now, Correa and Boris are saying, nah, we're going to keep working with the Mets. Of course, Mark, until they stop working with the Mets. But, and one other baseball note, Major League Baseball has allowed players to represent Cuba in the World Baseball Classic next year. That means the Jose Abreu's, Yordan Alvarez's, Randy Arozarena's of the world, if they want, can represent their home nation. That's been a big issue because in the past, guys have defected and, it's just the politics.
Should be interesting conversations in the dugout if they do that.
Right.
Let's say, watch out for that team.
All right. That's true. You've got Abreu and Arozarena talking to the other 20 guys going, let me tell you what life is like.
Right.
All right. After we go out for the late night beer run, follow me. Like Charlie Steiner, follow me to freedom.
Freedom, exactly.
And that, Mark, was...
That was the Starting Five every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
So there you go. Some of what's going on in the sports world.
When we come back, it's time to talk a little long-term Tua. What do you do if you're the Miami Dolphins? We have a multi-concussion quarterback that's supposed to be our future who's played like dog do in the last 4 games.
What was that technical term?
Dog do. Miller and Moulton, trying not to step in the dew right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around and get
If you had the opportunity to avoid all of this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs, presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs, powered by Clutch Vodka.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Hold on a second, KW. You make that sound like it was 75% as a rookie and it's 53.6 now. Isn't it the other way around? As a rookie, he wasn't the starter. He was flip-flopping with Fitzpatrick. Last year, he had the 4 or 5 game stretch he didn't play. Otherwise, he played the whole rest of the year. And this year, he missed what? 2 games? I mean, I think you've – I mean, I'm willing to bet, yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of misrepresenting it because you gave the impression that he started 75% of his snaps as a rookie and is now down to 54% when it's the other way around. Gotcha.
Have you ever seen the graphic that I guess NBC pulled up one time during an Oregon game that Justin Herbert played, where it showed him as the Sheldon High School Fishing Club president?
No.
That's just the meme. It's like you just lost to the Sheldon High School Fishing Club president. And it's like 13-year-old Justin Herbert, or like I guess 15, holding up a fish.
Well, they had a picture of a 14-year-old Troy Aikman winning a typewriting competition in Oklahoma. I've seen that picture before.
Oh my.
You didn't see Charles Woodson's tweet yesterday by chance, did you?
No.
Just seeing the news about Tua. If indeed it's another concussion, he has to think long and hard about continuing to play this game ever again, period.
10 seconds. Here we go.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour number 2 of Miller and Moulton on this final Tuesday of 2022. How about that? Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Pat Kirwan, 1 hour from now. Seth Everett to join us tomorrow. No David Sampson today. All right. He has the rest of the year off, at least from our show. And by the way, David Sampson is going to be doing his Nothing Personals beginning next year live. He'll be doing them live, although he's told us he pretty much does them as live. Like, you know, he's not a edit them after the fact because I screwed up guy.
Seth's an editor.
Right.
And David's one take, let it rip.
Right.
Mistakes and all.
So David Sampson's going to be doing his Nothing Personals live at 8 a.m. apparently. So it'll be interesting to see if he'll still do us on Tuesdays because, we're cutting into his prep time. I mean, as soon as he's done with us, 7 minutes later, he's going live. So looking forward to that when we talk with David in the new year.
So we'll see whether or not Tua goes live on Sunday. They are still holding out hope that he plays this week. This is his second reported concussion, as many people on the text line have pointed out. Isn't it 3? Well, 2 officially. The other one was a neck injury that we all know was a concussion.
That's true. That they misdiagnosed, put him back in the game because they were idiots. We'll say Mike McDaniel sounded like a very different coach yesterday. He basically said, listen, I am not letting this guy near a field if I think there's anything remotely wrong with him. All right? I care too much about him as a person. So that was the head coach of the Dolphins yesterday.
But I was taken aback a little yesterday, David. I found this news out, was on Twitter, just kind of goofing around and looking at things. And Charles Woodson tweeted out, just seeing the news about Tua. If indeed it's another concussion, he has to think long and hard about continuing to play this game ever again, period. I don't know if I'm going that far, but if I'm the Miami Dolphins, I have to think long and hard about giving him the 5th year of his contract right now.
Well, it certainly plays a role. I mean, this is business. Okay? This is business. And it has to enter into the equation. Whether it was arm injury, knee injury, I mean, does this make him, quote, injury prone? And is this a more serious injury than most? I mean, what's the most important ability, Mark? Availability. So Paul in our Twitch chat room has asked this question 3 times now. So I think he wants us to ask it on the air. If Tua were your kid, would you let him play?
Well, Tua's an adult. I have no control over what Tua does now. He's a man. This isn't a mom and dad issue with a collegiate or a high school kid and concussions. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to me to do with what Tua thinks he's going to do. But more importantly, what do the Miami Dolphins think that they need to do now?
Well, first things first, they're just worried about New England and then the Jets and the rest of this year. I think. You worry about big picture in the offseason. You sit down, when you're making your decision as to whether or not to pick up his 5th year option, I do think this is legitimate. And it's like, well, why should we say yes to about $25 million in 2024 when, heck, this guy may suffer more concussions and his, career could be over and we're on the hook for $25 million because that is fully guaranteed. That was one of the changes in the CBA. You pick up that 5th year option, it's fully guaranteed. You can't walk away from it. It's on the cap and he get paid. Mark, you and I are hockey guys. And I want to go back about 10 years. Pretty prominent player. I would argue the best player of his era. Sidney Crosby. Sidney Crosby had led the Penguins to a Stanley Cup. He had led them to 2 finals. He was the best player in the game. And it was around 2011 and 2012. And Sidney Crosby developed a concussion problem. And it took damn near 2 years for them to get him right, to figure it out. Whether it was a new helmet, whether it was, just a mouthpiece, which they say lessens the blow and, whatever. But he's missed over 110 games in his career because of concussions. I mean, Mark, just last year in the playoffs, New York Ranger defenseman hit him with a cheap shot, and he missed the rest of Game 5 and all of Game 6 with concussion symptoms and probably played with a concussion in the decisive Game 7 and played really well. But I mean, you remember Crosby's career, we were worried this was another Lindros.
Right? No, you're right.
And they figured it out. He stayed away long enough, and he has now played 10 plus additional years. And he's been really good for those 10 years too.
And he's still borderline top 5 for certain, a top 10 player in the sport.
Yes. And you know my feeling. He's top 3 until he hangs up the skates.
Yeah, well, I think you're off on that one by a little bit, but in by a little bit, I mean a lot.
But that's my bias. I admit it. That's my bias.
But I get it, and I'm okay with it.
So, I do think that people are freaking out a little bit here. I'm not trying to, my mom, the nurse, is listening right now. She's probably going to want to come through the line and beat me over the head. But I just think, listen, if he has to sit out the rest of the year, he's got to sit out the rest of the year. And it sucks. And maybe this goes all the way back to he wasn't ready to come back when he came back. Although, I don't know, he played at an MVP level for about a month and a half there. So, can we just take a deep breath and let's just see how this plays out?
No, we can't, David, because I've got to decide on whether or not I'm going to give this guy a 5th-year option. And I understand from a football standpoint of what you're talking about right now. But if you're Chris Greer, what the hell does he have to do for the next 3 weeks except for worry about what he's going to do with Tua? It's the most important decision that man has to make right now. There is no bigger decision in Chris Greer's world on whether or not to give Tua a 5th year. And he's had multiple concussions in 1 year. So, no, I can't wait right now.
Okay. If that's, and let's just say you're Chris Greer, and that's now the attitude in the room, and you're the leader of the room, and I got to work with you, then I would say, well, okay, boss, then how about we decide not to pick up the option? Because if by chance he stays healthy next year and delivers, yeah, it costs us money. Yeah, we've got it. We'll find ways in the cap to get it. It will. It will cost us, and it could cost us like $15 million. But is that better? Hey, Tua's terrific, and he's our franchise quarterback, and so now we got to pay him. I mean, who's going to give you grief for paying him?
Right. No.
You get to go, hey, we were playing it safe. The guy was injury prone, concussions, inconsistent. If you were in our shoes, you probably would have just said, let's just see how 2023 plays out. I mean, I would say to you, boss, I think you'll get less grief and you have a less likely chance of getting fired from Mr. Ross if you actually play it safe. And to me, playing it safe is not picking up the option, as opposed to picking up the option. But, and now are we going to judge how he played yesterday in a different light? And here's the other thing I would say to you, boss, is I think we got to protect ourselves. I think we got to go. Now, I know you did a good job this year with Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, I think he's the highest paid backup quarterback. As a guy who was hired just to be the backup, I think he's the highest paid backup in the league. So do we have to go that route? Do we have to go sign a guy? I mean, we were talking about this last hour. Do you have to convince Matt Ryan, listen, I need you to come here and hold the clipboard? Okay, because I may need you. I'm just saying. And the weapons we got here. If you got to play, you'd like this. But, I'm just saying, if you're going to be a number 2, where else is a better spot for you than to be a number 2? Our weather, our taxes, our wide receivers. What do you say?
Our injury-prone quarterback. If you think you're going to get on the field, I've got a spot for you.
Right. Take a look at his first 3 years. You've gotten on the field. So that would be my advice to you. If you're in front of the room pounding the table saying, I need an answer and I need it now, my recommendation, boss, would be we don't pick up the 5th-year option and we go get a guy who on a handful of teams would be a starting quarterback next year. That's what I would recommend. So we pay Tua less, but we pay the backup more.
And if Tua turns out to get through his concussions, and plays at the level of which we sign him, you're right. It would cost the Miami Dolphins more money for the 2024 season. But they would have proven that investment worthy because of the play during the 2023 season.
You know, the other thing, Mark, we could do is we could make Tua the backup quarterback next year. I mean, not pick up his fifth-year option. He'll be pretty well paid backup quarterback, but I think his salary is what, like around $5 next year? I'll have to look that up. Mark, we could bring in Tom Brady, be our starting quarterback next year, have Tua back him up. We could just say, listen, I'm tired of this roller coaster. I can't count on the guy week in, week out. And you know what? He's still got a few things to learn, and who better to learn from? And Tom gets to live, you know, he bought a place right across from Giselle and the kids, and, you know, reportedly he wanted to come here last year. So, hell, let's do it now. What do you think, boss?
A Brady in South Beach.
Sounds
Just
wrong.
saying. Just saying. You pounded the table. You wanted answers. I'll give you an answer.
Those are
You
some answers.
You know me. You know which option I'd choose.
Oh, I know exactly what option you'd choose. You'd have the old man playing quarterback for you. You're damn right.
What, 46 years old next year in South Florida? Hell, that's not old. That's damn near a teenager.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Tua should not play another football game this year. And if he does, shame on the Dolphins.
Hops, it's French. It's fragile. It's the fragile lamp.
Ooh. Now, he still has an injury he has to recover from. But if you're the Dolphins, do you bring in Jimmy G next year?
Well, here's the thing about Jimmy G. Jimmy G going to cost you. Believe it or not, Brady will play for less than Jimmy G will.
Well, right, because Jimmy G's young. There's somewhat potential of long-term value in Jimmy G. But man, I mean, hell, just making the Dolphins more like the Niners of old. Again, it just makes me vomit watching Justin Herbert play football. And he didn't even have that great of a game last night, but
All
still.
right. This is what bothers me. I know Tua was coming off the injury against Mississippi State, but there were not a lot of people that were calling for Herbert over Tua. There weren't. There was maybe 20, 25%. But there were a lot more people who were calling for Ryan Leaf over Peyton Manning than were calling for Justin Herbert over Tua.
I don't know. I kind of had bias towards Oregon because Mario Cristobal was their coach, and they had a few other people in their staff from Miami.
Remember, when the season started, who were the Dolphins supposed to tank for?
Right, it was tank for
They were
Tua.
tanking for Tua. Hey,
it still hurts. It still hurts. It was one pick away.
What do you mean one pick away? They took Tua before Herbert. They could have had Herbert.
Right, true. It was the next pick.
Paul, who's the MVP in the National Football League this year?
I actually thought Jamie Erdahl made a really good case yesterday on Good Morning Football.
For who? Jalen Hurts?
No. She made it for Jefferson from Minnesota.
Okay.
I thought that was an interesting.
But Jalen Hurts is a top 3 guy for the MVP right
Totally.
now.
Absolutely.
Is he a big, strong guy? So, I mean, come on. I mean, everybody, big, strong. Come on. Let's pile on Tua some more.
Well, Hobbs, it's a hotel room. And I leave a really good tip.
What, a wide receiver has never won the MVP? I mean, if it's going to happen.
Did Jerry Rice win?
No. Jerry Rice never won an MVP.
Did win a Super Bowl MVP, but he didn't win league MVP. Interesting.
I wouldn't mind if it was given to Jettas. I thought Cup earned it last year, but league said Aaron Rodgers.
By the way, Paul, Mahomes is 6'2". He's not a big, strong guy. He's the best quarterback. Like Allen is. Mahomes isn't considered that big. He's got a great arm, but he runs around too. I mean,
Mahomes is a little beefy. I mean, ten seconds.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Pat Kirwan to join us in 40 minutes. A lot to kick around just from the events of yesterday in the National Football League. Speaking of which, Monday Night Football, the reason I'm still in Indianapolis, Chargers take care of the Colts as we expected. In fact, we wondered why was the line 3.5, 4? I mean, one's a pretty good team and the other's a pretty bad team. What are we missing here? Turns out we weren't missing anything. We actually got one right. 20-3 Chargers. They're in the playoffs. First time in 4 years. Justin Herbert will be in the playoffs for the first time in his career. And of course, when you think Justin Herbert in these parts, you know, who then also gets mentioned? Tua. They are linked. 115, 116. Team picking fifth 3 years ago. Their fan base has got buyer's remorse. They didn't have much of it 3 years ago, Mark.
I would ask them all to just look at the Jets quarterback situation while they have buyer's remorse.
You know what, Mark? That's a daggone good point.
His career numbers, by the way, very similar to Jamarcus Russell at this stage of Jamarcus's career. So
the only difference is that Zach has mom trying to bail him out on social media from time to time.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. It's not a good look.
It's a terrible look.
Not a good look. And in New York, boy, it just oozes strength. Franchise quarterback.
Which does get us back to you doing when you were penning articles for the local papers and your mom came close to wanting to defend you as a Jersey lady.
Yep.
She shouldn't have needed you to tell her not to.
And listen, even still to this day, I'm 57 and I cannot tell my mom what to do, but man, I begged and then at one point actually like raised my voice to the point where she said, "You can't talk to me that way." And I go, "You can't comment online. Got it? You will ruin your son. Because for the rest of my career, I'll get, ooh, what are you going to get? Your mommy to come and defend you? Okay? And all this affection I have to you will go away."
So there.
Right. And so she thought about it and she said, "Well, you make a dadgum good point." Okay. I said, do what I do. Don't read the comments. That's what Zach should say to his mom. Mom, don't read the comments.
Don't read the comments. Nothing's good going to come out of you reading the comments. Yes, New York is toxic. So is every fan base in the National Football League, Mom.
Mom, here's all you need to know. I suck. All right. And you suck for raising me. Okay. That's it. There's no need now for you to read anything else. That's basically the crux of it.
And so is one of your friends, Mom, but that's a whole different story we can't get into.
Right. Right. By the way, how is Barb? I digress. So if you're watching on Twitch right now, I'm in a hotel room. Mark's freezing in a studio, of which, by the way, I need to remember, I'm going to be next to you in the studio tomorrow and Thursday. I got to bring layers, don't I?
Just shoes. It's important.
Sure?
It's important to wear shoes in here. The feet get cold. It all starts with the feet and hands, David.
Huh. I didn't know that. So, but behind me over one of my shoulders, let's see, what shoulder is it? I guess it's my left shoulder, is the Fragile lamp from A Christmas Story. All right. And so I brought it to the booth last night. See, I believe around Christmas, nobody wants to work Christmas. We're all bumming and, having to work and travel and what have you. So, Mark, I went ugly Christmas sweater and Fragile lamp. Walked into the booth, plopped the lamp down, plugged it in, took off my jacket, and there was the second ugliest Christmas sweater that I have. Not the one that should have won the contest at that Christmas party we went to. I can't find it. I lost it in the move. I'll
Probably
find
a
it.
good
Though.
thing.
No, absolutely not. That sweater was hideous, horrendous. That was an award-winning sweater in the hideous department. I got to find that for next year because we've got a game on Christmas next year. But Joe at one point turned and looked at me and said, "Hey, Marge, where did you get that?"
So did it get laughs, though, when you took it off?
Yes.
Because when you worked, the Fox crew was a bigger crew. You knew those folks for a lot of years. Now you've got the same booth crew by and large. Sure, there's a different floor director and a couple other people, but the crew's obviously completely different. So they don't know you from Adam this year. Now they're starting to. So it was met with
Yes. People who hadn't talked to me all year came up to me, and between the lamp and the sweater, just loved it. In fact, the crew stole the lamp. We were trying to figure out where on the set to take it, and literally one of them came and said, "We want that." And they grabbed it and brought it back with them.
Did it go to the truck?
No. It stayed in the booth. It just went to the back of the booth.
Okay.
So no. So my attempts at morale building yesterday worked.
They were clutch.
They were. Yes, fragile with a K.
Time now for our Clutch Vodka play of the day. That is Clutch Vodka with the K. Go to clutchspirits.com, hashtag all your drinks on social media with the hashtag Clutch Spirits. Felipe, what do we have today?
Boy, the Chargers defense really gave it to the Colts last night. Asante Samuel with an interception. Nick Foles' third interception of the night. Ugh.
Tranquil now backs out. They only rush 4. Van Noy coming. And Foles intercepted for the third time today to the 30, to the 25. Right sideline out of bounds. Asante Samuel Jr. for the second time this season.
3 interceptions on the night for Foles, and you can certainly say that the Charger defense was clutch last night. They were terrific, did not allow a third down conversion, did not allow a fourth down conversion, held the Colts to 3 points in the game, and that is our Clutch Vodka play of the day. That is Clutch David with a K.
All right. As punchers' chances go as a 6 seed, right now the Chargers would play the Bengals. But Baltimore could win that division. They could end up playing Baltimore. Cincinnati could win out and in doing so beat Buffalo and drop Buffalo down to the 3. Just curious, Mark. The Chargers go on the road in the first round. And right now it looks as if they would play either Cincinnati, Baltimore, or potentially Buffalo. How much of a puncher's shot do you give Justin Herbert and a defense that is getting healthier every week and the offense that got both wide receivers back now?
There you go. That's the key part. Mike Williams makes this offense. Keenan Allen's a stud, but Mike Williams makes this offense go. When he is there, it makes them a much different football team offensively. And David, I give them a hell of a puncher's chance because of both points that you brought up. The defense was a wreck. It's starting to get healthy at the end of the season, right before the playoffs start. When we've got, Johnson just tore the pec for the Eagles. They've lost 11 of 14 games when he hasn't played tackle for them. 11 of 14. It's kind of a big deal to have that man be injured with 2 weeks left in the season.
Well, Hurts may not play this week either. If you take a look at the play in which he got hurt, he got his throwing shoulder slammed into the ground with a defensive lineman on top of him. Okay, that's not a minor injury. It may not be separated, but it ain't happy. So just the Chargers, they're cute, powder blues. They never win in the playoffs. Pat them on the head. It's nice you're back. Okay, well, it's Justin Herbert and the boys. I mean, Mark, do they look any different than the Cincinnati team that walked into the playoffs at 10-7
David,
last year?
I could argue they look better.
So
their O-line's better than what Cincinnati's was a year ago. I think their defense is slightly better than what Cincinnati's was a year ago.
So you say 1-3? Now, obviously, Baltimore would be the one they'd want to match up with. But if it's Buffalo or Cincinnati on the road, first round, you give them a 30 or so percent chance of winning?
That's about right. About a 3 in 10 chance. Sounds about right.
Okay. That's not bad for a 6.
A little tough to do in those cold weather places for that LA team, after all. Miller and Moulton getting closer to the playoffs day by day right here on the Florida Sports Network. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN play of the day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the play of the day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka play of the day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
That's Clutch with a K.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Hobbs. The Kawhi one? No, that ain't me. You know, Hobbs, for the longest time, I've been thinking about making a burner Twitter account.
That's what you need.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect for your generation.
For my NBA
Hide
tweeting
behind something else instead of being
no,
man enough to put your name behind it.
No, a burner Twitter account is awesome.
No,
It's
actually the softest. It's soft as baby shit. There's nothing softer than having a fake account to post things that you're too scared to post in your real life. That is so chicken blank. It's like the whole thing. It's even more chicken blank than Twitter, and Twitter is the most chicken blank thing in the world.
It's like a spam account. You just load it with crap.
No, because most people with burner accounts are instigating and antagonizing and using it to say things that they wouldn't normally say.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily do that. I think Twitter beef is just pointless. It's funny to look at. Way more funny as a spectator. Also, Mark, who's your MVP NFL?
It was Jalen Hurts before he got hurt.
But even if he's out one game?
Out one game, I think he can still win it.
Yeah, I think so.
Here's the thing, though. Even if he comes back and beats the Saints, I don't think he's going to play much of the season finale against the Giants.
That wouldn't matter, though, because they're sitting him out because they've got the one locked up. That one wouldn't count as much. I don't think, David. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and I could still vote for Mahomes right now.
I think the MVP could also get decided Monday night in Cincinnati.
More for Burrow or for Allen? I mean, you think, Burrow beats them.
But if Allen wins, then they're likely going to be the one. Does Josh Allen then get it? Think about it. Josh Allen would have gone on the road this year and beaten Mahomes and the Chiefs and Burrow and the Bengals.
That is true. If the Eagles lose out and the Vikings win out, don't they get the 1 seed?
Yes.
Yeah.
But think about what you're saying.
Right. Probably
They're playing the Saints this week. The Saints.
The Aints.
And then the Giants. And the Giants, by the way, who, if they beat the Colts, will actually have nothing to play for. They can't go up or they can't go down. They'll be locked in as the 6. So that Eagles-Giants game could be completely meaningless for both teams.
David, I had seen something, and I got to double-check it because you've been on this thing that New England can still get in. I thought if Miami beats the Jets, they're in, that New England has no shot. And I've saw ESPN ran a graphic that said so.
No, if New England wins out, they're in.
It would be a nice story having Teddy lead his hometown team to the playoffs.
You are into a lot of story things. I don't give a damn about stories. Win the God-blessed game. Who cares about storylines?
Well, winning
Mark,
is part of the
hold
story.
on, Felipe, hold on. Here's why, Mark. They would end up if New England wins out. Okay, the best the Dolphins could do is be tied with the Patriots at 9-8. The Patriots' division record, they'd split with Miami, and their division record would be 4-2. The best the Dolphins' division record could be is 3-3. So why the Patriots, if they win out, own
They
the
would be
tiebreaker
second
over the
place in the
Dolphins.
division, right?
They'd be second place in the division. And their conference record is better than Pittsburgh or the Raiders or anybody else. So if the Patriots know right now, if they win out, they're in. The Dolphins know right now, if they win out, they're in. The Jets right now know if we win out and Buffalo beats New England, we're in.
Kawhi, that's a tough one, but I don't know.
Yeah, then Ben Volin says, I guess then it goes to common games if that works out, and the Dolphins have a better record in common games than the Pats.
We're coming back.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour, before we bring Pat Kirwan onto the show for the first of his weekly appearances. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. One of the big stories yesterday, it's not often, Mark, that a coach gets fired in the NFL during the season, especially when it's his first season. In fact, Mark, since the merger, and that's basically 1970. How many times has a first-year head coach in the NFL not finished his season?
If I thought I saw this right, I think what Hackett did is the second longest or second shortest tenure of a first-year head coach. So I think it's happened one other time in a more quick fashion than what happened to Hackett.
A few more than that, but not much.
Okay.
Remember, it happened to Urban last year. You know, Urban didn't finish. What did he get? 14 games?
14, right.
Right. Bobby Petrino, 15 years ago it's been, by the way. 07, when Bobby walked away to go woo pig suey.
But he quit.
He did.
He quit.
He did. Okay, so technically the headline is, how many coaches since the merger have not finished their first full season? And Mark, you're right, because 2 of the 5, Hackett became the 5th coach since the merger to not finish his first year, but 2 of the 5 quit to go back to college. Bobby Petrino in 07, Lou Holtz with the Jets in 76, walked away with a game left on the schedule to go to, like, I don't know, NC State or maybe it was no, I think it was Arkansas. So how about that? Both Holtz and Petrino left to go to Arkansas. But Urban Meyer got fired last year with, 2-3 games left? And Mark, here's a footnote in history. Pete McCulley. That's right, Pete McCulley was the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers in 1978. First year, they started 1-8. I said, yeah, this guy's not working out. They fired him. They finished the year, they hired this guy named Bill Walsh. That's why nobody remembers Pete McCulley. So Holtz and McCulley in the 70s, and then you got to go Bobby Petrino 15 years ago and Urban last year, and now Nathaniel Hackett.
What's his name again? Pete who?
McCulley.
Pete McCulley. So Broncos fans are hoping that
exactly
it is their Pete McCulley.
Because Sean Payton's coming to the rescue.
Maybe.
He's coming. He's coming. And here's why I think he's coming. Because I don't know anything, obviously. I mean, you've listened to the show. You know I don't know anything. But, Mark, the guy who bought the Broncos is the richest owner in the league.
I understand. And, David, I believe that the Broncos desperately want Peyton. But as we've talked about, the interviews go the other way now. And if Peyton doesn't want to coach Russell Wilson, then he ain't coaching the Denver Broncos.
Well, that's true. But, Sean Payton could look at the Walmart guy and say, I know it's a bitter pill, but, we're going to have to get rid of Russ. Oh, man, that's a big salary cap hit. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. That's a lot of guaranteed money. Yeah, you're worth $50 billion. What do you care? Here's another reason why I think it's going to be Sean Payton. Do you know who released the statement yesterday for the Broncos saying, hey, we got rid of Nathaniel Hackett, and here's what we're going to do going forward? The owner. And the owner specifically said in the statement, he went all Al Haig, Mark. He basically said, I'm in charge here, because he said, you know who's going to handle search for the next head coach? Me. Mark, who do you think he's going to call?
I know exactly who he's going to call. Here's the thing. Again, David, they did this when they did it for exactly the reasons you're speaking of. Why fire him with 2 weeks left? There's no real point of doing that unless you're trying to get the jump on Sean Payton. It really isn't.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So they've got the jump over everybody else that's going to try to get him.
Right.
And David, you may end up being right. But if Sean Payton doesn't want to coach Russell Wilson and he doesn't have any draft picks going forward to draft a quarterback, so that would mean he doesn't have a quarterback, period. I don't know if he's going to want to take the job.
That's true. No.
All things point to you being right, with the exception of one simple thing. Does Sean Payton want to coach Russ?
There you go. There you go. And now if you're the Broncos owner, you could probably find that out before the new year.
Yep.
It's not tampering. You can pick up the phone. It's not in bad taste. You fired your head coach. You can go find him wherever he is. Dallas, New Orleans, Maui, wherever he's hanging. You can go find him. Say, hey, how you doing? I'd like to talk to you about the Broncos job. Oh, really? What are the terms? Well, here's a piece of paper and a pen. Why don't you tell me? And think about it.
Well, that's the part this owner has to understand, is that this is not hiring the new CEO of Walmart where people line up to get the job. You've got the Broncos job. People might not even be interested in your job right now. And they're interviewing you, the top coach. And that's going to be different for this guy.
I understand. Read, by the way, the release. Most releases are awful. Read the Broncos release from yesterday. I want you to. He basically said, listen, we've lost your faith as a fan base. We're going to get it back.
Yeah, the other thing that was wild about it, no one's paying any attention, but they got rid of an O-line coach. They got rid of two other coaches or three other coaches got gassed. That typically, with 2 weeks left in the season, they fire a head coach. They don't gas four guys.
Right now, and Mark, this would be the year to have your own draft pick too. Because right now, if you're Denver, you're picking third. Who's picking third instead? That'd be Seattle. Yeah. Broncos, by the way, averaging 15.5 points a game, a full point lower, than any other team in the league. It's the fewest points a Broncos team has scored per game since 1971. And they're trying to get a new stadium. Mark, that's another reason why I think he's going to go get Sean Payton. He's going to pull a Steve Cohen. I have no idea who this guy is. I just know how much money he has. Steve Cohen has $10 billion more than any other owner in Major League Baseball. This guy has got $30 billion more. I mean, only the Rams owner, Kroenke, can look at this guy and go, you're rich. I'm pretty rich. You're rich. I mean, I'm telling you, this guy's going to pull a Steve Cohen. Wherever Sean Payton is, this guy's not going to let him leave the island. I'm not leaving until you say yes. And Sean Payton could go, I want $25 million a year. Done. Seriously, think about it. Money's no object. You're trying to get a new stadium. You've had 7 consecutive non-playoff years, I think 5 or 6 consecutive losing seasons. Unprecedented in this franchise's history. What's 5-10 extra million a year? You want Fangio to come back? It'd be a little awkward coming back a year later as defense coordinator. Who
different
cares?
owner, different GM. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, the personnel. Run the same system. Vic, Would it help if I gave you a cake that said I'm sorry? Besides, I wasn't here when we did it. I really think he's gonna.
I agree that he's going to try. Again, David, there's nothing that you've said that doesn't, it's not out there nuts. It's the richest owner wanting the number one coach that's out there. Unless that coach doesn't want to coach Russell Wilson. And if that's the case, then that really says a lot about what the Broncos did to get Russ there. If they don't get Peyton, that tells you what Peyton thinks of Russ.
Yes. And by the way, based off of this year, you couldn't blame him for thinking it.
And there are bigger, the offensive line doesn't like Russ. The offensive line doesn't like the backup quarterback telling them to like Russ. There are problems that have to be fixed there and quickly, and they're going to have to get rid of a lot of players to do so. They're going to have to overhaul this roster in a big way.
Listen, you and I are not stats guys, and goodness knows, I don't know if we've ever used this term on this show. I think you did a couple times. QBR, whatever. But apparently, Russell Wilson's worst season of QBR is 57. His QBR this year is 35.
And it was under 10 last week before he got benched. In fact, I think it's the lowest one this year that anyone's had.
But here's why you could turn this around pretty quickly. They've lost 8 games by one possession, tied for most of the league with the Raiders and Falcons. So it's another reason why Sean, you could look right at Sean Payton and go, Sean, just your appearance alone, we'd flip this sucker. Say we win 6 of those 8. Look at where we are. We're a 10-win team with 2 weeks to play. Come on. So
this has to be the most disappointing season. Really and true. This Broncos season has to be as disappointing as any teams in a long time. The expectations for the Broncos were high. They were high for this division, and they have been a grease fire.
Here's the other thing, another reason why, and I don't know if the owner, because he's only been the owner since like April or May. But Mark, and who knows, maybe he's listened to a little bit of the sports talk radio out there. Maybe he's actually heard the angst. But the Broncos are about to do something which has never been done before. They haven't made the playoffs since they won the Super Bowl with Peyton. That was 7 years ago. No team's ever won the Super Bowl and then missed the playoffs for 7 consecutive years. That's how bad this franchise has become quickly.
And this was a quiet model franchise in the NFL.
Yeah.
From the standpoint of selling tickets, never having back-to-back losing seasons for the longest time.
Yeah.
Great history. Winning history.
They couldn't get past the Raiders and the Steelers in the early to mid-'70s, but they had the 77 season where the Orange crushed and they went to the Super Bowl. They were always good, though. If you take a look, they'd won 8, 9, 10 games. They just couldn't get past the elite in the AFC. But then, obviously they get away in 83 for the next 15-plus years, knocked on the damn door seemingly every year. A little bit of a lull. Had a year with Jake Plummer where they went to the AFC Championship game in the mid-2000s. And then they got a hold of Peyton. Had a tremendous 4-year run, went to 2 Super Bowls, won one of them. They had a 40-year run where they were a really good franchise. And now they're bottom quarter of the league in how they're doing their business. They got the richest owner in the league now.
They're in the bottom quarter, and it's very cemented right now being in there. They have to dig out of that. Whereas just a year ago, we thought that this was a team on the come.
Right. They could just bring in an offensive coach. They won 7 games with a defensive coach. They could just bring in a quarterback and an offensive coach.
Which defensively, they still have played well this year.
Yeah, up until the Rams game, they were doing just fine.
Right.
And even now, after giving up 51, I think they're still 6th in points against. Yeah, defense not the problem. So, just saying, Nathaniel Hackett getting fired as a first-year head coach 15 games in. He's only the 5th guy since the merger to not finish his first year, and he's only the third to get fired because two of the others quit, Lou Holtz and Bobby Petrino. Both to go to Arkansas. Ain't that interesting? Frank Broyles.
That Frank Broyles guy was getting things done in Arkansas, man.
It's a real bull. I was a dear man. So there you go. Just some numbers behind the numbers and just why I believe, okay, that this guy's going to pull a Steve Cohen and Sean Payton's going to be the highest paid coach in football.
Just curious, how will that be met by the rest of the owners? Because Cohen right now is not liked.
I think one's in a salary cap sport and one's not. And
paying for a coach like that, that's the only way to upset a salary cap sport is to spend an obscene amount of money for a coach.
Then again, how many coaches make it to the open market who have won a Super Bowl? I think, a few might get, their feathers ruffled that, oh, great, now we got to start paying this for coaches. But in the grand scheme of things, it's like, no, we only have to start paying that for coaches who have won a Super Bowl.
Fair enough. Just a point, when the richest owners start spending all kinds of money, it's a quick way for them to not get on the committees, not get to where they, not be the coolest guy in the room anymore and upset the apple cart. So I'm just curious how that would fit in football.
Just as long as you don't honk off Kraft and Jarrah, Mark, you're fine.
Pat Kirwan is next right here on Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs, presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs, powered by Clutch Vodka.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around and get it.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Could always rerun the 6 and the 9.
So if you're going to go on the Fritz, go in the next hour.
Well, that'll work out fine, though, because it's by month. You're here tomorrow and Thursday. You're back in Jacksonville. You don't need it for the month, so you should be fine.
Well, but in theory, I need it in El Paso Friday, and apparently it goes on the 4th of the month.
Oh,
So
okay.
it would actually be a problem because I need it Friday in El Paso. I need it Monday and Tuesday in Cincinnati. So, but I'll have this afternoon and 2 days to get this resolved. I'll obviously just have to purchase more. But I thought I had purchased unlimited for just this reason.
Felipe, did I see that right? They showed that graphic that Houston at one point yesterday had 5 guys on the floor. None of them were over the age of like 21 for the Rockets.
It's probably true, yeah. Yeah, they're young.
Did we lose to Latvia in the World Juniors? Oh, okay.
My brother-in-law was watching that at our condo on NHL Network yesterday. Did we win?
They just showed a highlight. It was 2-2, and we went up 3-2. So
I did hear about that, Klecko. Did you send Pat the link?
Yeah.
Okay.
$5-2, we beat Latvia. Wow, the Canadians got beat by Czechoslovakia, or the Czechs 5-2. And Switzerland beat Finland. That's a pretty exciting day of World Juniors. The Ukraine's playing in the World Juniors. They sent a team. That's pretty cool. I just heard about that, Klecko.
Where is Pat?
I don't know. I text him.
We got 10 seconds.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Did you see that story?
Yes, right before the show.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And we are halfway home on this final Tuesday of 2022. Hope your week's off to a good start. They had a great holiday, and with the new year on the horizon, Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com, while we wait on our friend Pat Kirwan. Mark, it's a story that you and I stumbled upon just before the show. Kind of cool. You know, holiday travel, Mark, I don't know if you've been paying attention. It hasn't been easy.
No, it is not. My mother-in-law got in about 4 hours late on Christmas Day. Fortunately, my son was able to fly home yesterday without any problems, but that is not the norm. That is the exception, not the rule this holiday season.
Right. We had a few people associated with the Monday Night Football broadcast who had to alternate flights yesterday with Sunday flights canceled, even some leisurely drives after a flight, which is apparently what happened, Mark. I don't know if you're aware, Friday's the Sun Bowl. It's the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl, damn it, Mark, and it's important.
And, well, players from Pitt got stuck in Dallas. Their flight to El Paso was canceled.
Right. And this just in, if you're not aware, Texas is a big state. How big, you ask? Dallas to El Paso is Fort Myers to Atlanta. It's 600 miles. So when you're stuck in Dallas, it's like, oh, well, just going to El Paso. Yeah. Okay. All right. About a 2-hour flight, 600 miles. But, Mark, fortunately, the 3 Pitt players, they found a friendly face.
They found the head coach of UTEP's basketball team, Joe Golding, who was in the same situation trying to get to El Paso. He was with his wife and their child. Well, they carpooled.
Yeah. Their
And think
version
about it.
Planes, trains, and automobiles.
Right. But those players, even if they wanted to, probably couldn't rent a car. They're not old enough to.
Correct. They were stranded in Dallas. They're like, how are we going to get to El Paso? Also, think about that. The team doesn't travel to El Paso as a team. Talk about the bowls. It's kind of like, listen, you go home for Christmas break. You just got to get your you-know-what to El Paso. We've got practice on Monday.
It's great. Golding said, I see these guys. They have Pitt bags on. They start talking about playing in the Sun Bowl and having to get to El Paso, and there wasn't any cars. And I was like, hey, if we can find a big enough car, I'll take you guys home. And they were like, who are you? Golding said, laughing. But the kicker is that Golding's sister is married to Sonny Dykes, the TCU football coach. I mean, just a little coaching fraternity. And Dykes is a legendary, the family of coaches in that family. But so they called Narduzzi. Narduzzi gave permission, but told him, this is, to me, these are the little parts of this that make this story almost make it seem more real. Narduzzi told the 3 players they needed to call their parents and get permission.
And
call
so
mom and dad, make
Yep.
sure that they're comfortable with you riding with the UTEP coach to El Paso for 600 miles.
Right. He's a complete stranger, but we do know where he lives and works. If something happens, we can track him down. And so apparently they all nighted it. They got a big enough vehicle because didn't Golding have his wife and like 2
Wife
kids?
and 2 kids. Sorry, I thought it was just 1, but yes.
So there's 7 of them. 3 of them are football players. And they get in this vehicle and they gas up. And apparently they made 1 stop midway through the state. And it was, soda and Red Bull and let's go. And he got them to practice. So
They had a 9 a.m. meeting and a 10:30 workout. Golding promised them they'd be there on time. They arrived in El Paso at 6 a.m. on Monday morning, and they made all of their scheduled workouts. And one of the players said, I even think I got a 2-hour nap in before the whole thing. So that's quite a story.
now the only thing that also was working in their favor, they were going from Central Time Zone to Mountain Time Zone. They did gain an hour on the trip. But yeah, it's just, a little footnote there. We talk about the bowls and in and around Christmas and how do teams do it. It's the same with college basketball teams all over the country. Scheduling, do you schedule a game too close to Christmas? How early after Christmas do you schedule a game? Like Mark in Southwest Florida, I believe the FGCU men, they don't have a game till New Year's Eve. Like they played the middle of last week, they played on like the 22nd, but they don't have then a next game, I believe, till the 31st. The women have a game, I believe, tomorrow. So, it's from a and you say to your kids, hey, good luck on Christmas break. By the way, practice is at 2:00 Monday. And it's not optional.
And this one, they send them home. They all have their plane arrangements to get to their game in El Paso. They're not flying as a team, which they would normally do.
Like, I'm heading to El Paso Thursday, late afternoon, early evening. I'm going through Houston. If something happens to my Houston connection, I'm driving Houston to El Paso, baby. I'll be arriving at like 1 a.m. And I'm just letting you know, if that's the case, Mark, boy, am I going to be just peachy, because it's a 4 a.m. tip to our show in El Paso, just so you know.
Oh, Mountain Time is the best time zone out there to watch sports. I will tell you that. I don't know what El Paso has going for it, but it's a great place to watch football.
It's just the game's noon to 4. That is true. But so there you go. A little story behind the scenes with the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl.
By the way, who you got in that pit and who?
UCLA. Neither team has given us depth charts yet. I don't know if that's because they're being coy or if they don't know who's playing.
I think they needed to wait until everybody got into town so they could figure out who it is.
They could be taking attendance yesterday, and both teams may have just gone, okay, what's our 2 deep look like? All the old linemen, stand over here. Let's see who showed back up.
Well, that's why, I don't know, Mike Farrell, who does college football, has started a Twitter account for the Farrell portal that just keeps track of transfers. Like TCU, by the way, has the lowest number of transfers of all FBS schools. TCU and Georgia Southern, 1 player's leaving. 2 are leaving from Georgia. 3 from Ohio State. On the other side of it, the ones that have the most, A&M, 24. The Gators with 20. The Canes with 19. Stanford's had 18. Oregon's had 17. He's cleaning house quickly with the Ducks of getting rid of players that he doesn't want anymore.
Can we just go back to the Gators?
Yeah.
Late last week and over the holiday weekend, did you see that 3 starters raised their hand and said, yeah, we're leaving? And 2 of the guys only have like 1 year left. And they're starters. I mean, one's an offensive lineman, one was a corner, and I forget the third. And they were all a day apart. And one of the kids took to Facebook and thanked everybody except Napier. And one of the kids' moms went to Facebook and posted photos. Gator for life. These 4 years have been great, and thanked all these coaches except Napier. It was a very interesting 72-hour period where very quietly, we thought by December 23rd, guys had made up their minds. These guys went home after the bowl game, thought about it, and said, I'm not coming back to play for this guy. Huh.
So
Starters.
what happened at that bowl game to get players to think that way? I mean, I know they just got their butts kicked, but what happened over the course of that week of practices? Something had to happen, David.
Or is it just a feeling? Is it just, I took in this year with Napier, I'm just not comfortable? I don't know. But it was
kicking that field goal.
But here's the other thing. They were starters, and if you go, well, they weren't good. No, actually, these were good players. These were guys that Florida wanted back. This was a surprise to Gator Nation. It's like, whoa, what's going on here? So that, I think, now has got some Gator people wondering, hey, what, we understand, that some of the guys aren't good enough and Billy wants his own guys and this, that, and the other thing. These 3 guys did not fit the normal transfer categories. And they did it, upon further review.
Right.
They didn't announce it right before the bowl game. They didn't announce it right after the bowl game. They basically went home for Christmas break, and while home said, I don't think I want to go back and play for that guy.
The only other thing that you could wonder, and I think the Gators have their NAL department down pretty well, did any of them get better offers to play somewhere else?
Could be. I mean, everybody's calling everybody if you listen to the coaches. I mean, basically, you're constantly having to re-recruit your own roster.
Mac Brown coming out and saying that basically saying that his quarterback's been solicited by every big-time program in the country without naming a name.
Narduzzi said it 10 days ago, in which he said, he goes, I know 2 schools that have offered May $5 million or more to play for him next year. I'm not going to name them.
So that's an alarming thing out of Gainesville. We're going to rebook Pat Kirwan. He'll be with us at 8:30 this morning. He ran into a snag.
Holiday travel.
His flight got canceled down here. I texted him during the game. I said, hell of a game. You got to work Christmas. He texts back, the only thing that could be worse if my flight get canceled. He texted me yesterday. My flight got canceled.
Boy.
He's not a happy camper, but he is still going to give us 20 or so quality minutes coming up at 8:30.
Okay. Well, we're going to have to take it easy on him. All right. If you've had holiday flights canceled, we can't be busting chops.
No, and it's cold where he
right.
is. I mean, I'm not even going to make a comment that it's chilly around here.
Right. So we're going to treat Pat Kirwan kid gloves coming up in a little bit.
Miller and Moulton, we thank you for listening and putting up with our scheduling snafus. We'll get it right one of these days right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Mark Miller, would you like breakfast?
No, thank you.
You sure?
Positive.
Okay.
No, one of the ways to stay awake is to not eat a big meal in the morning.
Ha ha.
No chicken.
Right. Did you hear what this man just said? Yeah. Shouldn't have eaten that pasta.
What was yesterday's excuse?
I didn't drink coffee and I got home late from Miami because we did Noche Buena Part 2 on Christmas Day.
What?
Noche Buena. It's like Christmas Eve in Spanish. Christmas Eve. but like Christmas Day Eve.
Good to know the air's still coming on at 8 o'clock in here.
I told Pat to chime in at 8:35. Told him we go to break at 8:30.
Perfect.
Mark, have you ever heard of a main event?
Yeah.
I don't think I've never heard of it.
A main event?
Like it's kind of like a Dave and Buster's type shit.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like a boxing match. It's a main event. I've no. This is a restaurant.
No, I guess it's like some
Gotcha.
Dave and Buster's type thing. No.
No, I haven't. But then again, I'm old.
Yeah.
I don't even like Dave and Buster's, so
You're not that old. Come on.
not for that. That's not even video games. That's like stupid video games.
I don't really like Dave and Buster's either, if I'm being honest. Like, it's cool, but like,
I worked at Dave and Buster's for 5 days.
5 days?
Good deal.
Yeah, did the training and then said I don't want to work here.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen, and just didn't show up. KW, you serious? You're really not figuring out what that is? It's the Fragile lamp from A Christmas Story.
Yeah.
We did a segment on it already on this show. You've been here since 6. And David wore his ugly sweater yesterday, DC.
I did. Hold on.
Oh, no, I don't want to see it. We're going to see it now.
Oh, he's busting out the lamp. Oh, ow.
Oh, a cardigan. An ugly cardigan. Even better.
Ooh. See, that looks comfy. "15 seconds.
It buttoned down the front. The buttons had sparkles on them. The sweater said peace, love, and joy. I think it's a woman's sweater. Awesome.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Pat Kirwan's going to join us in about 15 minutes' time here on Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. It's the last Tuesday of 2022. Hey, you resolutions guy? You make lists, goals?
No. I mean, there hasn't been a year that I said I'm not going to lose a few pounds to start the year. I mean, you and I are both heavy. And like
Mark.
to eat as much as any two people that I know. And
Mark.
I have been using the Moulton philosophy of food for the last couple of weeks.
So if it's not nailed down, basically you've eaten it?
It's going down. That's it.
Okay, here's the deal, Mark. First off, you're not even in my area code in terms of size. I mean, I don't even think you qualify for Dan Patrick's beefy. Honestly, you're not. You're not. Just because you look at yourself, I mean, I don't want to analyze you or anything, but just because you have self-esteem issues, Mark, doesn't mean that you're in the same category as me. Mark, I'm fat. I'm fat. When people go, hey, you need to put another layer on, I go, no, I am that layer. Okay, you're not that way. You need to dress in layers still. If you have to dress in layers to handle the brutal Southwest Florida winters, then you're not even beefy.
I've been taking it for the past couple of days about this softness of weather. I just put my 23-year-old son on a flight to get him out of here, who has been just giving it to me about how soft that I've become.
He's right. He's right, but you're not even beefy. You're not. You're not. Just to let you know. Now, if you'd like to try, I'm game. I'll help you out. I've got the diet. I've got the plan. All right, you're on the right track. Just keep eating every carb not nailed down. That's a good start. That's a good start.
I'm on that plan.
But I was just wondering, it's the 27th. Just, if you were a list, get something we've never talked about over the years. I've never, known you to come in on January 2nd or 3rd and go, I've started the shape up. I got to lose weight. I've given up, whatever.
I don't announce it. The one thing I have learned over the years, because we all, at least most of us, at least at some point in time, had a New Year's resolution. If you are smart enough to stay away from them, then I commend you. But most of us have had them. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm not going to drink during the week. Whatever. It lasts you 2 days and you're back. Maybe 2 weeks if you're good. Maybe 2 months if you're really good. If you announce them, then you also fall victim to when you fall apart. So if you just start trying to do something differently and don't announce it, you don't fall into the guilt of failing on your New Year's resolution.
So I got to spend all of Christmas morning home, which has been unusual the last few years. I've either been on the road or working, what have you. So I had a really nice Christmas morning. Late before I had to go to the airport, a couple pictures were taken of me, Mark, because I'm not a pictures guy. My wife is a pictures gal.
Yes, she is.
Whew. So
she should be in charge of our social media accounts the more I think of it.
Well, that's a dadgum good point. And she may need something to do here soon. So, I see her occasionally, I mean, every now and then we spend a Saturday night together. So, I'll negotiate it for us. Leave this one. I know you usually do most of our negotiations. Let me handle this one. Let's see how I can do.
I like it.
So, but then again, we've been married over 25 years. I may need you to take over the negotiations. Quick sidebar. So I get upgraded on the flight from Charlotte to Indianapolis the other day. And so I'm in a place that I'm very uncomfortable, which is first class. And apparently there are all these couples and none of them are sitting together. So I'm in the very last row of first class, which happened to be row 5. And a guy comes up, do you mind if I trade seats with you to sit with my wife? Yeah, sure, fine. Sure enough, same thing happens in row 4. Do you mind? My wife's sitting over there. I'm like, fine. And I'm thinking, first off, how are you guys not sitting next to one another? And then finally, I kid you not, I moved 4 times. I went from row 5 to 4 to 3 to 1. By the 3rd time I stood up and I said, okay, how long has everybody been married? Do you still really want to sit next to one another?
I hope they laughed as hard as I
did.
That's pretty good.
They did. The one guy goes, we've been married 37 years. I go, you still want to sit next to each other? I go, that's outstanding. The other couple was 30-something years. The other couple was, at 12 or whatever. And I go, you'll grow out of it. Don't worry. So, yeah.
So back to Christmas and the pictures.
So there was a picture taken of me playing with my 10 or almost 11-month-old granddaughter. And, Mark, I'm not a goals person, but
always been more of an assist guy, I know.
Mark, I'm fat. And this was a bad angle for me. And I'm not only fat, I've got bad posture. And so if it's a low angle and you're slouching, what is the only thing that you see in the picture?
Your belly.
The belly. And the belly, when you're slouching from the low angle, is immense. And so I may, and of course, that's the picture that gets sent out to like my mother and other people. I'm like, well, I mean, could you just harpooned me before you sent that picture out?
I'm pretty sure it's on social media too, David.
Right. So once again, it's why I may not hire the person you want me to hire. So I may just take that picture. This is something I've never done before. And I'm just maybe going to tape it to the mirror in the bathroom. And it's, I think, going to stimulate me to do one of two things. Either A, try to cut the belly down, or B, work on my posture. One or the other, I haven't decided yet. But probably the posture, because when you're fat, you shouldn't also have bad posture. That's a bad look.
It is. It is. And I now have recommended your wife for our social media manager because of these pictures.
Whew.
She has my vote.
Right. She doesn't have mine. So I don't know who breaks the tie here. Although you have 51% when it comes to all deals. So I think I just lost. But just so you know, my vote's a no, because she posted that picture in which she might as well have put under it Shamu.
David, I don't even know if you're capable of doing this, but you can also make said photo your lock screen on your iPhone.
And why would I want to do that again?
Again,
the reminder.
The reminder. The constant reminder. Every time you turn your phone on, you can remind yourself of your bad posture.
Yeah. It'd take a little tech time, but we can get there.
Felipe, you know what? That's a dadgum good point, but here's why I'm not going to do it. Because I don't have to look down at my phone. All I have to do is look down. And the picture's right there. I mean, can't miss it and everything. The old Bill Cosby story about, Johnny Carson asked him, you lost some weight. Yeah. Why? Well, I took a shower a few months ago and I was drying myself off and I was completely dry. And then I bent over to put my slippers on and like 8 ounces of water came out of my belly button. And that's when I decided, I might have to lose some weight. And so that's kind of what I look at now. I mean, I've got 4 to 6 ounces hidden whenever I need them.
Miller and Moulton, hoping, praying that visual will leave you sooner than later.
Set goals for 2023, ladies and gentlemen. Set your goals.
Set your goals, your assists, your power play time. You'll need all of it. Every single bit of it, if you're in the shape that Miller and Moulton are in.
And work on your posture.
That's important. Sit up straight.
Yes. Don't have to lose weight. Just work on your posture and raise the camera angle up, not down. Pat Kirwan's next.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. FLGolfCarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, FLGolfCarts.com. FLGolfCarts.com.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. No, Trenton, I do not. I was only in Nashville for a couple of years, so I don't have to be the right years. God, that's great. Klecko David can walk around with a Webster's dictionary in his head for posture. KW says, or a pint of buffalo chicken dip on his head.
Come on now.
We did French dips yesterday. I did the open face prime and then French dips for dinner. It was a double prime rib day. I've had prime rib for my last 3 meals.
I haven't had a prime rib in a while.
Outstanding.
My daughter's had prime rib for her last 3 meals.
Mm.
She liked the open face sandwich better than the prime rib for dinner. I was very fired up.
You know, the holidays are tough for like losing weight.
They're impossible.
I've eaten so much.
It's what you do.
I had three plates Christmas Eve. 3. That's more than Thanksgiving.
There's Pat.
Hey, boys.
Morning, Pat.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm fine. My little, of course, now that I'm stuck here in Jersey, the little guy goes down the stairs this morning, splits his chin open. My daughter knows I'm here. She goes, you got to come over and watch the other two. They're still asleep. No problem. It was like 6:30. What time do you think they woke up and started screaming, where's mommy?
8 o'clock?
About 10 to 8. I go, look, everybody calm down. Then there's no effing way I'm going on with these two howling like, mommy, where's my brother? Okay, great family. You know, all because my flight got canceled. And Mark, I predicted it.
You did. When you sent me that text, I go, I hope he's not blaming me. I'm watching that, because we had
the worst game of all time.
Oh my God.
It was really brutal. For those who don't believe in Christmas and couldn't wait for that game, they got what they deserved. A bag of coal. And the worst part of that canceled flight, no flights Monday, no flights Tuesday, no flights Wednesday. I can go back on Thursday for $2,000.
Oh.
So I guess you're staying.
I go, how about this? Because I have 3 grandkids that are at my house waiting for me. And their parents went away on a trip, and my wife's stuck with 3 animals. I go, okay, Janet, I'm just going to mail you $2,000. You can go out and do whatever you want, but I'm not coming down for 24 hours. She goes, but the Blades are playing. I go, take the boys to the Blades game. Do whatever you have to do.
Well, make sure she knows if she needs somebody picked up or a ride. I've got time, Pat.
No, you helped me before with Brady.
I know,
so.
but that's fine. That's
one time. I told you this, Mark. This is funny, David. So Mark picks up Brady, brings him home from hockey. About I don't know, 2 months later, Brady and I are down in Florida for something, and I was doing the show, and I said, "Oh God, I can't." He goes, "Well, call Mark. Him and I got friendly." I go,
That's it.
a 5-minute ride from the arena to our place is not building a friendship.
That's funny. That's funny.
I told my brother, I said, "You got to help out here. Janet's going to lose it. You have got to go pick up Brady and take him out for dinner and get him away from the two little guys for a while." And my daughter's worst idea, she sent him with homework. Like, "You're going to be with grandma. She's a teacher. She can help you with all this." Oh, boy. Try to tell a kid on a week's vacation at Christmas, we're doing homework. 9 grandkids. I knew something was going to happen. I can't believe it. And I'm going, just put a butterfly out. No. And I said, "Do not stay there and wait for a plastic surgeon. It's a freaking cut on his chin." I was like,
Besides,
God.
going to grow up and be a hockey player
Yeah,
anyway,
he's-
right?
Not going to be a model.
10 seconds.
You know what? I don't have the balls to tell my wife or my daughter that.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour, Pat Kirwan joins us for the first time this week, the final week of 2022. Pat, who's part of NFL Radio's Moving the Chains and CBS's NFL Today show, joining us once again courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, a dozen locations in between Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. Pat, how are you?
I'm fine. I am up north in the cold, and I didn't expect to be here, but I am. So anyway, really a lot of football to talk about. I'm sure you're going to want to start down south in Florida. That concussion protocol issue with Tua is going to mushroom. Like, when did it happen? But you know what it reminds me of? And you're a historian, David. It reminds me of Altoon. When he had his third concussion of the season, it was literally a little love tap on the field in Denver, and his career ended on the spot. And it got easier and easier to get one, and it looks like that might be the case with Tua.
Well, Pat, I've been pressing this with David the whole show. I mean, they're now talking about whether or not they're going to pick up this guy's 5th-year option. I don't know how can you right now, Pat?
I'm with you on that one, Mark. I mean, he does enough things football-wise that you should, but when you look at the medical part of it and the history of this guy, I don't think you can. It doesn't mean he's not going to re-sign with you if things get better. But look, Daniel Jones didn't get it, and the Giants are going to re-sign him. That's the way that goes. So it could happen, but you better keep your options open. As just like Baltimore, out of luck, have their options open with Lamar, which they weren't going to have. They were going to close those options off with a big contract, and they didn't get it done. So now it might work out better for them. So I'm with you. You cannot put the option on them.
Now, Pat, you've become a hockey fan in the last 10 years. There have been some famous hockey players, okay, some of whom, started down the concussion road and never fully came back, Eric Lindros. But Sidney Crosby is one that about a half a dozen or so years into his legendary career, he battled a concussion problem for almost 2 full seasons and has gone pretty much 10 years. I don't want to say concussion free, but when he suffered a concussion, it cost him 3 to 5 days, and he's come back, as opposed to 100 games, which he lost earlier in his career. I mean, is maybe the answer, because Altoon was 30 years ago. Is it possible that maybe the answer now is just shut him down for the rest of the year?
Well, you bring up a lot of different subjects, and one of them is concussions aren't the same for everybody. And so that the hockey player, one made it, one didn't, according to your analysis here. One did, one didn't.
Right.
Now, this guy, I don't even think he knows how to take a hit. He's delicate in a lot of ways. He doesn't want to run. And you don't, and I don't, none of us know what's inside of his mind about being hurt. And the other part of this is they know All these athletes know end of career if concussions mount up. So what I don't know about your hockey analysis of the guy who made it and what's going on with two is how many other times have they had one, but they're not going to lie about it. Did he come off that field and go in a concussion protocol? No, his symptoms showed up the next day, which is another part of concussions. Sometimes they don't show up for 2 days. So I'm not blaming Miami, but I know, I'm not going to mention the players' names. I know of guys who had their medical records changed and had concussions taken off the medical report and changed to strained neck and shoulder injury. They know this is the death knell. And I don't know what's going to happen here, but I can't compare. In a lot of ways, I did already compare to Toon because Toon, he said he was fine. One little tap on the back of the head on the ground and he was done. And this one, and the reason I bring up Al is, did you see what they think was the moment this happened? It wasn't very much at all. It wasn't a shot like the Derwin James shot. It was a little love tap on the field. So that's the only thing doctors tell me. I've talked to a doctor yesterday about it to remind me that these things, once they start to happen, for some, not for everyone, they just get easier and easier to have.
Well, injuries are always a central theme. We talk football. The Eagles were without Hurts. They still managed to score 34, losing to Dallas, but they lose Johnson for the rest of the regular season. I want to say that I saw their record. It's pretty abysmal without their tackle starting. Just your thoughts on the Dallas-Philadelphia game. First, from Dallas' standpoint, they did give up 34 to a backup. Does that concern you? And how concerned are you with Philly and their injuries right now?
Well, they given up the 34, excuse me. They gave up 40 the week before. So that's how I look at teams in 4-game blocks. The last 4 tells me who you are today. What you did in September doesn't really matter anymore. Case in point, look at the September Dolphins. But if you look, and now how do people get ready to play games? I was advanced scout for a long time. They look at the last 4 games. And if you look at the last 4 games, you got to start asking Dallas defense questions. And so giving up points, that's a problem. Stopping the run, that's been a problem for a while. So I'm a little nervous about who they are. Philadelphia, I thought Minshew, for a backup quarterback, didn't do a bad job. He looked like a backup I'd pay to put on my roster. I think when they get Jalen back, they'll be fine. And can they overcome the loss of Johnson? Yes. I mean, the best quarterbacks in this league know how to do that. And a guy like Manning has been able to do it. This kid will do it with his legs. They'll run RPOs over in that direction, and whoever's playing over the new right tackle, and that can change, they'll be able to create options to help the guy out.
2 things. First off, the Cowboys' last 4 games, Colts, Texans, Jags, Eagles have given up 29 points a game on average against those 4 opponents. 2 of them not very good offensively. And the Eagles, in theory, are going to get the bye, which means Lane Johnson has a month to get ready for their first playoff game.
Yeah, and I hope he's back because they've built the team that deserves a shot at the Super Bowl.
The Lael Collins injury to the Bengals. They had started the same 5 guys on the offensive line for the first 15 games of the year. Now, they spent some resources on the offensive line in the offseason, but outside of their starters, Pat, they're really thin. Is this the type of thing in which the Bengals, who are on a roll, second hottest team in the league, this will derail them?
I'm going to say no to that for a couple of reasons, and no particular order. One, the mobility of Burrow is different than it was a year ago. If you asked me that question a year ago when he couldn't really move, he was still recovering, I would have said yeah. But this guy can move now. That's the first thing. His escape skills are double what they were a year ago. The second piece is a little bit nasty. Lael Collins was one of the worst graded linemen in the NFL. He was not having a great year. So you're not replacing a star. It's not like Philly replacing Johnson. Replacing Lael Collins, when you really look at him, is kind of like replacing Donovan Smith in Tampa. They're just not playing well. So is that enough of a reason to get excited? I'm not excited about it, but he is not the hardest guy to replace. I'll just leave it at that.
Pat, speaking of the Bucs, when they've had to, when they've won these games, when they've beaten the Rams and they came from behind against Arizona, they've had to run an up-tempo offense, and they've done pretty well. Why do you think they're not running more up-tempo during the game? I know you can't do it for a whole game. I get that. But to sometimes implement a little bit of a hurry-up offense to try to catch the defense off guard, it just seems offensively they have no method to score points until they go to this. Why are they not doing it more?
Well, I talked to Todd Bowles about it yesterday, and I asked him your question that you're asking me, so I'll give you Bowles' answer. I love the no huddle. We should do more in it. We should put a few more plays in it, and we're going to. So they're heading right down the road of more, and it's not. See, what it really is what we used to call muddle huddle. They're on the line. They're not substituting in, so you can't substitute in, and he can take a good long look at you. And the thing about Brady is he sees who you are, and if he's in a position to take the snap, you either line up in what you're really going to be in or get ready to get caught trying to sugar the safety in late, and it's too late. So, yeah, Todd Bowles was very open with me, which I thought he wasn't going to be. I said, he's going to just mumble through this answer. No, I love it. We should do more of it. We are a better team when we do it. And I'll tell you what else it does. Don't quote me on this. It takes the sideline play caller out of the mix. It puts Brady in the play calling mix, and that's a better thing.
Well, I mean, let's face it. We used to say Peyton Manning was the offensive coordinator of the Colts. I mean,
and the Broncos.
Yeah, and Tom Brady is the offensive coordinator of the Bucs. I don't see how that's not an upgrade. I mean, it just is. I mean, you could have the greatest offense coordinator in the world, okay, but a 20-year veteran quarterback is a better offensive coordinator in a 2-minute drill than you are. That's just the fact of life.
Now, he will throw, you know this, David, he's going to throw 55 times if he's calling the plays.
Yeah, no doubt.
If you go back and watch the end of that game, they had like a 3rd and 4, and the play from the sideline came in as a run, and they ran the ball and didn't make it, and was the only time, and I confronted Todd on this. I said, Todd, everyone thinks you're stoic. Everyone thinks you don't have any facial expressions. I saw the look on your face when you ran that ball on 3rd and 4 and didn't get it. You saw that? Yeah, I saw it. That's why I brought it up.
Very quickly, I am of the belief, and I, don't know the guy and have no information. I'm of the belief that the new owner of the Broncos is going to do like the fairly new owner of the Mets. He's the richest owner in the league. He's going to corner Sean Payton on an island somewhere, and he's going to make him an offer you can't refuse. All right. I mean, he has to. He's trying to get a new stadium. They haven't made the playoffs since they won the Super Bowl. They've had 5 or 6 consecutive losing seasons. He sends out a press release that says, we've lost the faith of our fans. I mean, hasn't he backed himself into the corner where Sean Payton can ask for anything?
Well, Sean's going to get whatever he wants wherever he goes. So they're not the only team that can deliver what Sean wants. That's the first thing. Second thing, Sean is no dope. And he is going to look at that roster and think, I'm stuck with Russell Wilson. Now, if he believes in Russell Wilson, which he shouldn't, then he'll say, yeah, but he's going to want to be the GM. That's not a problem. It's going to be $20 million for the coaching, 10 for the GM, $30 million a year, locked up 5 years.
Whew.
So,
wow.
Right, but I'm just telling you who's running the show there. That's Bill Parcells. Bill Parcells is Sean's mentor. Bill Parcells is not letting him take a bad job. The first thing Bill Parcells, when we were talking a couple of times about things like how do you pick jobs, he said, to your point, David, I start with the owner. You better have the money to do this right. So you pass the first qualifier. Sean is going to want all the power. That means a lot of people are going to go. Everyone will go on the coaching staff. Everyone will go in the front office if he wants to, which I'm sure he will. Now you have to ask yourself, is that the only place Sean can get that deal? Is there an owner out there who's not thinking about firing his coach, which we talked about Friday, but might do it now with Sean bringing out all this leakage of he's ready to coach again? And then I'll ask you, the last one's tongue-in-cheek. Do you think Vic Fangio's going back there as a defensive coordinator?
If he's going to get $2 to $3 million a year, he will.
Well, I would too. So I don't think it's the right job for Sean. I don't think it's the right job at all. But I don't think he really is going to look at Russell Wilson and say, Sean knows no coach has ever won a Super Bowl with a second team. He sure would like to be the first. And you know what? Do you think Russell is fixable? That's my question to you, because I would be asking Sean that.
It's the most important question. I mean, that's what I said to David earlier. I said, I think everything you say is right, with the exception of, does Sean want to coach Russ? And if he doesn't, then it doesn't matter what the money is offered. He's not going to take the job.
No. And then, of course, wise guys in this business who never spent any of their own money will say things like, well, you can release Russell. Now I'll ask you, do you think the owner wants to take $100 million hit? He's going to move towards a guy with the name, no rookie coaches here, that he believes can fix Russell. Who wants to try to fix Russell? I don't know who that is, but when you think of the jobs that are already open, Arizona's going to open, right? He's going to take a settlement and get out of there. You've got Indianapolis. How about that owner? You know, Jeff might be our coach. Why do you say that? They've got to go through the Rooney Rule. Why do you say Jeff might be our coach? Shut up and get through the end of the season. I think there's a job that's going to open for Sean Payton that's better than Denver.
Pat, we've got about 30 seconds. Have you ever seen what's happened to Russell Wilson in the last year? I mean, this is a borderline Hall of Fame quarterback who at, 32, 33, his 11th year in the league, all of a sudden, he's been trash this year, Pat. Have you ever seen this?
I'm asked that question, and I asked myself, no, I haven't. And I was kind of hoping. Now, people will say crazy things like Herschel Walker. That has nothing to do with this. This was a Hall of Fame quarterback candidate who is no longer a Hall of Fame candidate.
And has done it all in less than a season. Absolutely amazing. Pat, as always, we thank you for your time. Enjoy the Northeast this week. Try to stay warm.
I'm going to accept that comment as a real concern for me. More. Thank you.
It is.
It is.
Well, I hope it rains. That's all I can say for you guys. I'll see you, boys.
Miller and Moulton, Pat's appearance, courtesy of Pitchers. Thanks for listening right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Hi. Excuse me.
hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone at Fifth Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
I just sent Pat a text saying, hey, if you're looking to get out of the house Wednesday night, Bruins at Devils. You can take the train. Train station takes you about a block from the arena. You just walk down the thing, walk across the street. You're there. Okay, David Tepper, Adam. David Tepper is not seen as a good owner. David Tepper is seen as a wild card. Also, they don't have a quarterback. If you're Sean Payton, you're probably thinking about going somewhere with a quarterback, right?
So I don't know if we could get him. I don't know if you have any relationship with Dockich, but he's in town.
I don't. I saw that yesterday.
Aaron Rodgers has thrown 11 interceptions only one other time in his career, and it was the season that he won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they're not making the playoffs. I think the thing that's killing them is that the Washington schedule.
Because they need Washington to lose. And there's nothing I can do. I only want to be
Felipe. She's not here, is she?
She is.
You're singing in front of her? God dang. She still talks to you?
She must have a bad ear.
Yeah.
Singing into it.
Whew.
1 minute. Ten seconds. Here we go.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the bonus hour on this final Tuesday of 2022, Miller and Moulton. the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. My bowl pick, sure to go wrong, coming up in about 15 minutes' time, although I am 10-7 against the number so
and
far.
the MAC's pretty much done with bowl games, so I like your chances the rest of the way.
Yeah, I got one today that I'm kind of torn on that they're in, and their team's getting points. Basically, when they've been favored, they haven't done right. When they've been getting points, they've been doing well, and yet I'm torn. Don't you think bowl games are harder to pick than ever before? You don't know who's playing. I mean, before it used to just be about motivation. You knew who was playing. You just didn't know who was motivated. Now you don't know who's playing, never mind motivated.
It's a great point. And you have to keep up on the transfers, but you can't be fooled because not every kid who's entering the portal is taking the bowl game off.
Correct. Like the Wake Forest quarterback. He said, I'm not coming back. I know I got another year. I'm not coming back to Wake. I don't know what I'm doing. I could be transferring. I could be going to the NFL. But he said, I'm going to play the bowl game for Wake. And that's why I bet Wake, because I thought he'd be the difference, and he was. It's why, quite frankly, I mean, literally, we said this before the bowl started. We said if you were going to bet one bowl game this year, you bet against the Gators. A, we knew who was playing, which was not half the team. And B, we knew they weren't motivated. I mean, it was the bowl lock of the year. And Oregon State was highly motivated, and everybody was playing, and they were a better team than Florida this year.
The other one I liked that you picked that I knew you were right on was the Air Force game. Simply because, and they were an underdog in the game, they were going, some of these teams when they are at 9, that's a motivation factor for teams. Double-digit wins is a motivation factor.
Right. We see it late in the regular season when a team's got 5 wins. They're 5-5, 5-6. And what are they trying to do? Get bowl eligible. For whatever reason, a 10-win season still is
it's considered a big deal. It just is. And that's motivation for a team. But one of the things that we've been talking about throughout the show, and that has taken over most of the show, is Tua, the Dolphins, and his concussions. You have to ask the question, how many concussions has he really had this year? 2's the answer that they're giving us. But we saw him stumble in the Buffalo game. That makes 3. And you wonder how many other times that he's been able to shake it off, because Tua's about, for those that want to knock him for being soft, Tua's the guy that's playing. He played through whatever he played through last week and didn't come out. And we only found out about the concussion on Monday because Tua said he wasn't feeling well when at the Dolphins facility. So as we go forward and try to get a 5th year for Tua, which I wouldn't recommend them signing him to, you have to really ask the question is just how many concussions. And this is the problem, as Pat said. The first thing when Pat started talking about guys saying it's a neck or a back, well, that was the second concussion that Tua had, or the first concussion Tua had, actually. It was a neck or a back. No one believes that. No. In fact, they changed the rules of the league because of it. So that's 3 this year that we all think have happened.
Correct.
And you don't know if there's any other hits that have left him woozy.
I mean, if the Dolphins shut him down for the rest of the year, it could very well cost him a spot in the playoffs. But right now, as an organization, Mark, is that the road that they should seriously consider?
Yes. I know you just have to get into the tournament. But realistically, even the most optimistic Dolphin fan, how many playoff wins do you see for this team this year?
Oh, 0.
Right.
I do think, though, that we can't underestimate the significance of winning this year. We'll say it again. They've made the playoffs twice in 20 years. They gave up a first-round pick and a ton of cap space to acquire Tyreek Hill and Teron Armstead. It's a very difficult sport to look ahead to next year in. It just is. So much changes year to year. Injuries are such a huge factor. The other thing, Mark, is I'd like to think Teddy Bridgewater could beat the Jets. Not saying it's going to be easy. Not saying they don't have a good defense. And goodness knows they're a much better team with Mike White than Zach Wilson. But we've said it again. Realistically, you put Teddy in there against New England, he gets beat. Then he comes home, and it's win, and you're probably in because you're counting on Buffalo to beat New England in Buffalo. And they will have something to play for in that game no matter what happens Monday night in Cincinnati. So, I mean, it's why you paid him the $5 or $7 million that you're paying him. Hey, Teddy, come on now. We give you 2 weeks of practice, get you a game to get the rust off. We got to beat the Jets to make the playoffs. Guys, if we can't beat the Jets with our backup quarterback, I mean, let's face it, Mike White's their third string quarterback. I mean,
Right.
If we can't beat their third string quarterback at home to go to 9-8 and make the playoffs, then we don't deserve it.
That's why you actually paid the money to have Bridgewater as your backup.
Yeah.
He is supposed to be able to go and win you a game.
Yes. Yeah.
You're not asking him to win out. You're asking him to win one football game.
And I do think, though, going forward, whether he misses 2 practices and he plays this Sunday, or whether he doesn't play again this year, I do think if you're the Dolphins, you have to plan for either a 1A or to go in a different direction, which I think starts with not picking up the 5th-year option.
And then you're putting Russ on notice, or putting Tua on notice. He can still be your guy. As you brought up and Pat brought up, Daniel Jones getting re-signed by the Giants. It just puts it all on Tua and doesn't put the $25 million hit on you if he can't play a 5th year. It'll cost you $15 million, $10 to $15 million if he turns out to be able to play and play well.
Right.
That's the roll of the dice you're taking.
Right. And it's worth it because you could save $25 million. So that's probably the route that we're headed down. Now, the big question is, are they prepared to – Mark, has the end of this season turned out for Tua and the Dolphins to be the end of last season for Baker and the Browns? I mean, let's be honest. Last Christmas Day, Baker Mayfield threw 4 interceptions in a loss at Green Bay. But he was playing with his left shoulder in a harness. And it was clear that his injury that he was trying to play for was really affecting his performance. Baker, if anything, was an accurate quarterback, and he now was inaccurate. It was clearly because of injury. But for whatever reason, the Browns did not give him the benefit of the doubt, did not say, we'll get you healthy, and let's give it a go in 2022. They said, yeah, we're done with you. A year removed from winning double-digit games and winning a playoff game. And not
in Cleveland.
Right. And not just any playoff game. They went to Pittsburgh and kicked the tar out of the Steelers. That's as sweet gets. And I'm wondering now, I mean, Tua was 8-3 a month ago, being talked about as a finalist for the MVP.
Yep.
And is the end of this season actually what took place post-Thanksgiving in Cleveland last year? Where, let's be honest, even with Baker struggling, the only talk was, I mean, they had already picked up his 5th-year option. So the talk was just about, well, was he going to be now the long-term answer? I guess now this will be a put up or shut up year as to whether he gets the extension. Nobody thought they were going to throw him out on the street and get Deshaun Watson. And is that now maybe where the Dolphins at some point between the end of their season and free agency in mid-March? I mean, I threw it out there earlier in the show, and I'm dead serious. If you're the Dolphins, do you go get Brady? I mean, with those weapons, do you just go get Brady? He wanted to come there a year ago, reportedly. Okay, his kids and his ex-wife are living within 30 minutes of where you play.
It would probably be his number one destination to play. Everybody talks about San Francisco, but with the family dynamic that he has right now, the easiest place for him to play would be Miami.
Do you just, if you're the Dolphins, go, hey, this may just be a one-year thing, but you know what? Tua's a question mark, and this guy's not. And my owner's 83 years old.
Oh, by the way, the Dolphins don't sell out games.
I mean, is the way this is playing out post-Thanksgiving a year ago in Cleveland, in which what isn't even being thought of becomes reality?
And certainly his play on the field has brought up the questions of even before the concussion yesterday, we were talking about whether or not you give him the fifth-year option based on his play over the course of the last month, in which 3 of the 4 games have been absolute clunkers. He played pretty well against the Bills. They didn't win, but he played pretty well.
You got to remember, the final year is the final low-money year of his rookie year deal. I mean, let's just say they don't pick up his 5th-year option. They could replace him with anybody. I mean, Mark, we could look it up. I mean, I think he's only making fives. He's not making more than $7 million next year on his rookie contract. He's not. He'd be a highly paid backup. He'd be a pretty damn good backup quarterback, wouldn't he? Just throwing it out there. I mean, 3 weeks ago, you bring up something like this, and they say, I'm sorry, you're not allowed to do sports talk radio anymore. Now, you start thinking, I don't know, I think I like that option better.
Chris Greer, who is the Tua guy, has lots of decisions to make now, and the concussion part of this is the biggest one in front of him. And can Miami make the playoffs if Tua misses 1, 2 games? Can Teddy Bridgewater get it done against the Jets?
I mean, if we believe the Miami stories from a year ago, Mark, if we believe them, and I think by now most of us think there was definitely there, then Ross has already gone down this road with Brady. I mean, what's to prevent him from calling Greer up and saying, yeah, do it again?
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
And there's nothing I can do. I only want to be with you. Oh, crap, he's back. Oh, damn. You guys can't see it right now, but Mark's got the slippers on. They look really clean.
Adam, he has certainly sucked for a month.
Well, I guess I ran out of gigabytes, which I don't understand because it literally says on my MiFi, unlimited.
Yeah. Whatever.
Mark, just noticing the slippers.
Yeah.
They look very comfy.
They are.
Yeah.
I went with my I was gonna do the I was gonna do the whole what's the mobster that walked around in his robe and slippers all the time?
Oh yeah, the New York mobster.
But you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah. Remember they said he was out of it?
Yeah. All a ploy just to make him think he was out of it in case he got busted.
Swag.
The Dolphins lost a draft pick, RCB. They don't have a draft pick this year.
Vincent Gigante.
Giancante.
Gigante. Gigante.
Oh, is that who it was? Okay.
Gigante. He was the boss of the Genovese crime family.
There you go.
For 25 years. By the way, his nickname, the Chin. Vinny the Chin. God, that's great.
Hey, so if you want to work for a radio show?
The Dolphins pick, it's forfeited. Adam, Tua doesn't suck. Zach Wilson sucks. Tua doesn't suck. Tua may not work out. It's been a hell of a 3 weeks.
He sucked for 4 weeks, though. I will say that.
Yeah, 3 out of 4.
3 out of 4 he has sucked. Holy cow.
You know, it's funny because for Christmas, I got a Tua jersey. Hours later, the game happened.
There are levels of sucking. I agree.
Spitz, correct.
Just like there are levels to fat.
Can I ask you a question at the start of the next segment?
Yeah.
Unless you got something?
No.
Okay. So. Adam, I think you wait 2 more weeks. They'll come out with a list in 2 weeks of who everybody's playing. Because once the regular season's over, they can figure out who you playing. I mean, there aren't many that they don't know already right now, but there might be, if you finish third, then you play the other 2 third-place teams and divisions in your conference. So there's like 2 opponents that they're and the 17th game. There's like 3 opponents that they're still waiting on to see who you're playing.
Here we go.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour, the bonus hour, Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. If you missed Pat Kirwan last hour, that's why you go to floridasportsnetwork.com and you download the show for what it is that you miss. Seth Everett tomorrow. Full show lined up on Thursday. Miller and Moulton side by side the next 2 days. I'm flying into Southwest Florida tonight.
Drive-throughs, beware.
It's true. It's been a while. All right. There's a few people I need to see. I'll have a couple days to do so. Hey, Carol, how you been?
Right.
Yeah,
Temperatures
yeah.
are going to rise for you. You're going to have nice weather. You're going to come here and recognize it'll be just like when you left it. It'll be perfect in the 70s.
That's so funny. That's so true. If it wasn't so true, I'd get mad at you. All right. Hear me out here. It's another, Moulton going off the reservation thing here. So something I think we can both agree upon. Last year, Stephen Ross was trying to bring Tom Brady and Sean Payton to Miami, right?
Right.
Right. We're buying into that. Okay.
Right.
Oswald did not act alone, and Stephen Ross had this grand plan to bring Sean Payton and Tom Brady, both of whom were under contract with other organizations, mind you, but that's okay. He was on a roll to bring Sean Payton and Tom Brady to Miami. And he was just going to pay off, draft picks and make complaints go away. So what's changed in a year? I mean, if people like me are already saying, well, hell, with all the question marks with Tua, physically and otherwise, why don't we just rent Brady for the final year or two of his career? While you're at it, I mean, Mike McDaniel gets a nice going away present. He seems like a nice guy. Maybe he'd be an excellent head coach. Chris Greer's had a run to do things here. He's hired Flores. He's hired, McDaniel. He got the draft Tua. He's made some big trades. I mean, he's had a 20-year run with the organization. We could still keep him around, by the way. He can take orders from Sean Payton. Mark, why not just, okay, it cost me a first-round pick and in a year, but why not do it again?
All right, couple of things. One, there's no reason for Ross not to try to do it again.
Okay.
None whatsoever. I will grant you all of those things. But this version of Tom Brady has not been Tom Brady.
It was not last year's version. There's no doubt. How much of that, though, does Sean Payton get some ego involved here? That Sean Payton goes, well, you get me calling the plays and running the show, and he'll be just fine. I mean, I nearly went to a Super Bowl with Drew Brees, and trust me, Drew Brees at the end of his career wasn't half of what this guy is now.
Okay. Secondly, with the Sean Payton part, a couple of years ago, he may have wanted Brady. Does he want to come coach Brady for 1 year? Of all the options out there, Miami, I get Brady for 1 year, then I got to go to Tua or I got to find a quarterback.
Listen,
I don't think there's anything about Stephen Ross wanting to do that I find to be untrue, David. I do think from Sean Payton's perspective, it may not be the same.
Okay.
That's all.
If right now, the obvious offers that could be out there. Russell Wilson in Denver, Tom Brady in Miami. Sean Payton, just tell me which one looks and sounds and feels more attractive.
Brady,
Okay.
but if he likes any of the young quarterbacks, what about Houston with the first overall pick?
Well, I was just going to say, now, Houston with the first pick and the 11th pick, $100 million in cap room, no quarterback. You don't have the relationship with the owner right now that you do with the Dolphins owner, considering you were clandestinely wanting to be his next coach. Houston, on paper, Miami.
It's Miami.
There you go. Okay. Carolina. David Tepper's already got a track record as an owner. At best, it's interesting. And you have no quarterback, unless you think Sam Darnold, you've always thought he was the answer. Carolina with Sam Darnold, unless you think you're going to drag Brady to Carolina, or Miami with Brady.
Miami.
Okay. So you see what I'm getting. Arizona with Kyler Murray and a brand new GM.
That you pick.
Yes.
By the way, you pick. You're in charge.
No doubt. With the Bidwells as owner, who I will say the son is not the father. The son's a much better owner. Much better owner. Arizona with Kyler Murray. Miami with Tua/Brady.
It's close. I'd still say it's Miami. I'd give it to the Dolphins there, and I think that most would.
Okay. So once again, the obvious Indianapolis. Do we need to say anything?
No, you can stop now.
Okay, thanks. So right now, upon further review, hell, Tampa. How about this? The Glazers say, you know what? I'm not married to this Todd Bowles guy, this Leftwich guy. Now, we got to work something out about the GM. I am a little married to him. We'll figure it out.
Be interesting what the compensation would be there. It is inside the division. That would
it goes up. There's no doubt. It's up.
That would be messy, and I think we all could agree on that.
Right.
Let me just throw one back at you.
Okay.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
When the Cowboys lose early in the playoffs, because until they win a road playoff game,
right,
we can't give this team a whole hell of a lot of credit.
Right. Okay, here's the problem that I see for Dallas. And everybody's been saying Dallas for all these years. Jerry Jones, I don't believe, is the owner that Sean Payton wants to work for. I believe Jerry Jones is the owner Sean Payton wants to party with. But I do not believe, and remember, as Pat and others have said, who is Sean Payton's mentor?
Bill Parcells.
Bill Parcells actually worked for Jera for 4 years, and for 3 years got Jera to not be Jera. But once you started getting good and winning, guess who Jera became again? Jera, because Jera wants the credit. So if you're Sean Payton, you live in Dallas, you got a home there, but do you really want to work for Jerry Jones, or do you just want him to be the guy you get along with great, and when you two get together, you have a hell of a night?
David, when it comes to immortality in sports, winning a Super Bowl for a lot of teams, it's equal. Winning one for the Cowboys means more than a lot of other teams. To bring that franchise back, I do think that the ego of the coach has to be weighed of where he would get this done at.
Okay, fine. Let's just say he's comfortable with Jerry. You think he looks at Dak and goes, I can win a Super Bowl with Dak?
I don't.
Or do you think he says, I'll take the 46-year-old guy? I will. I'm sorry. I'll give me the old guy.
Wish the 46-year-old guy would have played a little bit more like the 45-year-old guy.
Yep.
Because it would scare the hell out of me.
Mm-hmm. I will say with that running game, but they're stuck with Dak for another couple of years, $40 million a year guaranteed. So you think of all the possibilities we brought up, Dallas would be number one, Miami number two?
I think so.
Okay. So tell you what, though, if you're Stephen Ross and you're 82 years old, you're in the second hole. You're in the second spot here. That's pretty
Everybody
good.
just better hope the Chargers don't get bounced in one game. That's the wild card in this whole thing. Miller and Moulton, we thank you for listening right here on the Florida Sports Network. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. WhipGolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. You know, we haven't even off-air brought up the congressman from Long Island. I'm Jewish.
Oh my God, he's trying to pull the biggest finesse in history.
Well, he's already in, though.
He's in.
I mean,
He already won.
I mean, 2 years from now, you can hold it against him, but he lied, he conned, he got in.
See David Sampson's tweet this morning?
I did not.
I'm 6'5"-ish.
That's funny.
God.
I want to ask Seth tomorrow, since we've had him on the show for so long, does that make David and I Jewish?
Ish, right.
Oh, crap. I forgot about that story for The Good, the Bad, and Ugly. That's one of my favorites. Did you see a story in the Post about the lady that went off on her husband? She found pictures on his phone at the airport, got arrested.
Mm-mm. No, Adam, They just kept them because they could afford to. They didn't have anybody to replace them, and they figured they were better with them than without him for this year. But he's not worth $11 million to them. They're not going to keep him long term. I text David and said, since you're 6'5"-ish, I'm skinny-ish. He said, LOL. By the way, I'm in Milan drinking. I said, well, I'm in Indianapolis doing sports talk, but enjoy.
Good for him.
Yes, Spitz. Isn't that great? The Eagles can improve their first-round pick by winning.
10 seconds. Here we go.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
The home stretch of Miller and Moulton on this final Tuesday of 2022. Thanks so much for being with us. Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Seth Everett tomorrow. It's a full week for us. Full show lined up on Thursday. Matt Canada, Roy Cummings, Dr. Roto. Pat's back on Friday. We think we're going to have Brett Bielema, the Illinois football coach, on before the week is out. They're in town. I think they arrived today, getting ready for a bowl game in Tampa. Hoping to catch up with Dan Dockich, who's apparently enjoying his Christmas break in Southwest Florida. So we've reached out to him. So we're working full week, and we're back on Monday, ladies and gentlemen. No rest for the weary. Not on Miller and
Football
Moulton.
season.
Yeah. Right.
The whole most important ability is availability. We've been available.
Yeah.
Because we really haven't had much of a choice.
So much for dedication. Yeah. Miller and Moulton. Chargers a winner last night. They're in the playoffs. Could still be the 5 seed, you know. They could move up. Baltimore's got a tricky home game with Pittsburgh, and then they're at Cincinnati. Chargers have what? Rams, Broncos the rest of the way. I mean, Chargers could post 11-6 here and move up to the 5 seed. Jags fans, of which there are about 17 of you now listening. I mean, that could be your first-round playoff opponent. Instead of the winner of the AFC North, it could be the LA Chargers. Just saying. I mean, let's face it right now, Mark, very quickly, because I know we got things to do here. Like Adam in our Twitch chat room, huge Jags fan. Deep down right now, if you're Adam, would you rather have Lamar and the Ravens or Herbert and the Chargers come in?
I think Lamar and the Ravens. Lamar's coming off an injury. That Chargers defense is getting better and better with every game right now. Baltimore's defense has been playing spectacular as well. But I think I'll take my chances with Lamar coming off an injury in that offense as opposed to the Chargers offense with a healthy Williams, which makes a big difference. Their receivers are both back. Through this, Palmer's turned into a nice 3. So
now what is interesting is Jacksonville has played both teams and beaten both teams already this year, including the Chargers in LA early in the season. So
they beat them at a neutral site. Now they just play them at home.
You know, that might have been a home field game for the Chargers because you have to think there was about 721 Chargers fans there and about 100 Jags fans. So it might have been edge Chargers for one of the very few times since they've moved.
You're probably right.
Close, though. Close.
Is that a Monday night wild card game right there?
Well, either that or, hey, it might not be Cowboys Bucks. It could be Cowboys Panthers in the 4-5 game.
You're not getting the Dallas Cowboys on ESPN. I don't know how else to explain this to you. It's
Mark,
still the flipping Cowboys. You're not getting them.
Mark, here's the deal. Monday Night Football has had 2 Arizona Cardinals games and 2 Indianapolis Colts games, okay, for $2.7 billion. They're just going to say, you know what? We deserve a solid.
Really?
Yes.
ESPN's going to go to the NFL and say, you have to do something for us.
No. They're not going to say you have to. They're going to say, come on, please. Won't you take pity on us?
And they're going to tell them to run some highlights and shut up.
Don't you know we pay more than Fox? I mean, does Fox really need another Cowboys game? Can't you throw us a bone? We're going to simulcast it on about 17 channels.
Besides, Joe and Troy have done so many Cowboys games over the year. It's like second nature to them.
I know, but they haven't this year. I mean, come on. They miss them. Come on. Have a heart. No?
I don't think it works that way, but you keep trying.
That's just our hope. That's all. Besides, I'm hoping either way, if the Jags win the South, the Bucks win the South, I get to drive to either game. And believe me, am I catching a lot of grief for that?
Yeah, because of where you live.
Yeah. Hello. I looked at Aikman. I go, yeah, how many times do we have to go to Dallas? Huh? So, you might get a home game. Yeah. Yeah, the fat guy might get a home game. Suck it up and deal.
Not like you're having to make a connection to get to Jacksonville, Troy.
Besides, that new private jet's got 8 leather seats. Relax.
It's time for someone to take back this segment, if for no other reason than to stop David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
We start in 1919. This is a move that David Moulton will love. Owner Harry Fraze announces that he will deal any player except for Harry Hooper. A year later, he sends Hooper to the White Sox. I'll trade everybody but that guy. On second thought, I'll trade that guy too.
You know what? I'm tired of that guy.
1934, the Shah of Persia declares Persia is now Iran.
Oh, okay.
Or I'm sorry, Iran.
Well, it depends.
Right.
On whether or not we're playing them in World Cup soccer.
1937, Mae West performs her Adam and Eve skit that gets her banned from NBC Radio. 1953, the Detroit Lions beat the Cleveland Browns 17-16 to retain the NFL title. That would mean that they had won 2 in a row. Really, the Lions. It was the 50s. 1959, the Colts scored 24 straight to beat the Giants 31-16 for the championship. 1964, the Browns beat the Colts 27-0. It would be Cleveland's last championship win until the Cavs did it in 2016.
Jim Brown's second to last year in the league.
1971, the first ever Fiesta Bowl. Arizona State beats Florida State 45-38. 1974, Archie Griffin wins the Heisman. That's the first one, right?
I believe so.
The Pretenders' debut album was released today in 1979.
Oh, wow.
Right. This guy named Gretzky became the fastest NHLer to get to 100 points today in 1981. It was his 38th game.
For those that don't follow hockey, that's not even midway through the season.
Steve Largent sets an all-time NFL record for career catches when he catches his 752nd pass today in 1987. Today in 2000, Mario Lemieux returns to the ice after being out with injury problems and cancer.
Correct.
He'd have a goal and 2 assists as the Penguins beat the Leafs 5-0.
Just another day that ends in Y for the great Mario.
And 6 years ago, Carrie Fisher died. Those born today that are no longer with us, Louis Pasteur and Marlene Dietrich. That's really for David so he can vogue for the rest of the segment. Actor John Amos is 83. Bill Self and Mark Few are both 60.
Wow, one guy looks a lot better than the other. Granted, he's got fake hair, but still a lot better than the other.
Carson Palmer is 43 today, and Rick Porcello is 34 years old today. And that, David, is today was the day when.
Don't know how many people have ever been, but it was 90 years ago today Radio City Music Hall opened, which was a big deal because we were in the Depression. And yet they still went through and finished it and built it. Great place, by the way. Awesome acoustics. Yes, home of the Rockettes. You ever get a chance to see a show there? It's right up 6th Avenue or Avenue of the Americas, as they call it, right around 46th and 46th. And the Sirius XM and Fox, if you ever watch Fox News, it's like catty corner from Radio City Music Hall, although they don't do a lot of shows out of their New York studios anymore. But there you have it.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
We go to Cumberland, Maryland for the good, where Butch Marion showed up for work, 82 years old, at Walmart. Cash register number 4. Had a chance meeting with Rory McCarthy. Rory McCarthy owns Bug Boys and has gone viral with videos of different bug infestations, termites and things like that. He saw this guy, started talking to him, and wondered why he was still working at 82. And he had seen a story about people being helped out because of TikTok. So he did a story on the 82-year-old naval veteran and wanted to get him to retire. In a few days, donations exceeding $100,000 came in, and Rory then handed the money to Butch Marion, who was able to retire and spend time with his family in Florida. Pretty cool story.
Yeah.
For the bad, we go to Pennsylvania, where Ann Farrelly and Adam Thompson are scumbags.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah. Look, I'm not big on tipping everybody at Christmas, David. I know you are big on it. Everybody gets a buck for you at the holidays. But many people tip their trash man. These two roam city streets ripping off envelopes intended for the trash man.
Oh, for goodness sake.
Why I called them scumbags. When they were pulled over of reports of suspicious vehicle driving slowly, officers located the vehicle and found taped envelopes labeled trash man with gift cards and money spread throughout the car. They were both arrested. Finally, the ugly. We go to Charleston, South Carolina, one of America's great cities, where a couple were having a little vacation. And Paula Barber had her husband's phone. And apparently, unlike my relationship with my wife, she doesn't get her husband's phone that often. And she found some pictures and then attacked her husband in the airport in baggage claim. The husband denied being attacked, but surveillance images show the wife delivering kicks to his legs, throwing the phone to the floor, and trying to hit him in the face. She admitted to assaulting her husband and was arrested.
So you're saying she didn't like the pictures?
No. That is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, December the 27th, 2022.
All right, we got 4 bowl games today. Last one kicks off at like 10 o'clock at night. I mean, But the first one's the Camellia Bowl. Georgia Southern, a 4.5-point favorite against Buffalo. I'm taking the MAC school because MAC schools as an underdog in the bowls have been really good. First Responder Bowl, Memphis, 7-point favorite against Utah State. Memphis has played much better competition than Utah State, and they had the same record. Give me Memphis and lay the 7. Birmingham Bowl, Coastal Carolina lost their coach. East Carolina did not. East Carolina 7-point favorite. Coastal with a lot of transfers. Give me East Carolina to win. And the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. Thank you, Pirate Mark. The Badgers try to win one for Jim Leonard. Oklahoma State lost 4 of their last 5. Give me Wisconsin laying 3.5 at 10 o'clock tonight.
And there it is. The Father Fathead Bowl predictor.
Thank
He
you
is
very
10-7 on the season.
Against
I would just stay away from his first pick. That's all I'm telling you right now. He has no idea what's going to happen in a MAC game. The other 3 are probably gold.
7 Division I basketball games tonight, only 1 ranked team. Jacksonville's at Notre Dame. See how the Dolphins do. 12 NHL games scheduled. 11 will be played. Hockey resumes for the first time since Friday. Neither Florida team in action. The headliners probably the Caps and the Rangers in New York. NBA, you got like 8 games tonight. I don't believe you have a Florida team playing tonight.
Orlando's hosting the Lakers.
They are? Yeah, I missed it. They're the first game on the list.
You gonna
taking Orlando? Do you have the guts to do it?
I was gonna say, you got anything
tonight? Or is
tonight?
Orlando for sure going to lose?
Oh, the Magic are losing tonight to LeBron and the Lakers. Are you kidding?
Or
They're
is
sharp.
LeBron gonna have a 40-point game and another loss?
Well, yeah, and then they're going to take the short flight to South Beach, and they are going to just go hard.
So the Magic and Lakers tonight, the only Florida team in action between the National Hockey League and the NBA.
And maybe we'll see if Correa and the Mets actually strike a deal, or if Correa signs with his 3rd team this month.
Boy, too bad you can't get each signing bonus just for signing the piece of paper. He'd be doing really well on this thing.
It is an interesting situation. It apparently doesn't have anything to do with any injury he suffered in the last 8 years. It's an 8-year-old injury that he suffered in winter ball with his ankle. He has never missed a game in the majors because of it. But both the Giants and the Mets apparently have looked at the x-rays and they're like, I don't know if this thing's going to hold up. And Boris is like, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. We don't renegotiate. I'll go find another team look just like you. Twins offered 10 for $285. The offer still stands. I don't know what to tell you.
So it's not going to be a short-term deal is what you're saying. The Mets or Giants are not going to get him for 5 for whatever.
No, very quickly, Boris did this with the Red Sox like 4 years ago with J.D. Martinez. They kept the deal the same. They reworked some of the language in it. J.D. ended up being fine.
You think he ends up being a Met?
Yes.
Think it gets done today?
Yes.
There you have it. That's a yes, no, or maybe so for tomorrow. It's a big segment coming up in 2023 on Miller and Moulton. Thanks for listening.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Hey,